What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 1SM Chapter 1 Traveler, Mediocrity is the Original Sin. Next chapter advertisement in the dark passage, Lu Ming subconsciously tightened his kimono. He didn't want to come here. The passage ahead was very dark, as if it was leading to purgatory on Earth. Even though he had been ridiculed all the time in the Zenin family, which forged a strong mind, it was somewhat difficult for him to resist the coldness in this passage. When people are in the arena, they can't help themselves. Lu Ming silently walked to the end of the passage and pushed open the huge stone door. Behind the door was a Buddhist hall full of Zen, but there was a strange figure standing inside. Hearing the sound, the figure turned around, chuckled and said, "It's Ming." Hearing the hoarse voice and looking at the sutures on the man's forehead, Zenin's heart trembled and he quickly lowered his head, not daring to look around. "Kamo Xianlun-sama, can you say, brainless? Or, Kensuo, close black lens bracket." As a time traveler, Zenin is his name in this world. Although he knew the identity of Kamo Xianlun in front of him at this time, he did not dare to reveal any thoughts. Kamo Xianlun looked at Zenin thoughtfully, and then said after a long time, "This is my private laboratory, it's worth your time to assist me." Feeling Kamo Xianlun's eyes as if they were real, Zenin didn't have any random thoughts and quickly bowed his head and answered, "Master Kamo Xianlun, please rest assured that I will be more cooperative with your experimental work in the future." Kamo Xianlun moved his eyes away and looked around the Buddhist hall for a while, with a trace of amusement in his eyes. "I will leave Kamo's house later. You can figure out the material here on your own." "Yes, Master Kamo." Advertisement Zenin nodded politely at first, without any hesitation. However, the next second, Zenin suddenly raised his head, as if he thought of something, and looked at Kamo Xianlun with wide eyes. "Master Kamo, you just said you were leaving Kamo's house?" Living in the Kamo family, one of the Big Three Sorcerer Families, Kamo Xianlun can also be regarded as the leader of the Kamo family. This leader wants to leave the Kamo family? What happened? Zenin's heart was full of doubts, but Kamo Xianlun did not respond at all, and disappeared in front of Zenin in a flash. With the departure of Kamo Xianlun, the huge and terrifying mantra that filled the Buddhist hall slowly dissipated. Zenin let out a long breath. Facing Kamo Xianlun, whose body was occupied by Kensuo, he was under great pressure during this period. Kamo Xianlun's aura has become less and less human recently, and his whole body exudes a foul smell. Even if he cooperates with Kamo Xianlun in experiments from a distance, he will feel very uncomfortable. However, fortunately, this inhuman life is finally coming to an end. For Zenin, Kamo Xianlun's departure from Big Three Sorcerer Families is also a relief for him. At least, the handle he holds in Kamo Xianlun's hands will not be known for the time being. But after thinking about it, Zenin had some doubts in his heart. According to his vague memory before time travel, Kamo Xianlun seemed to have been discovered by the top management of the Jujutsu Masters Association about this evil 9-phase diagram experimental plan. In the end, everyone got the loot, so, the only one who would choose to escape. But why? There has been no response from the top management of the Jujutsu Masters Association, but Kensuo is already preparing to abandon the Kamo family's position. It seems that he has already been preparing to leave the Kamo family. What exactly went wrong? What caused Kensuo to evacuate early? Is it because of me? From the time he was discovered by Zenin to cooperating with him in conducting experiments and creating the 9-phase diagram of the cursed fetus, Zenin could not figure out the real reason. However, Kenshi's withdrawal was ultimately a good thing for him. As for the reason, for Zenin, a little transparent person, there is no significance worth exploring. Zenin's feelings about Zensuo or Kamo Xianlun are somewhat complicated. If it weren't for Kamo Xianlun's attention, Zenin, the illegitimate son of the Zenin family, would not be alive in the world now. Advertisement after all, the Zenin family is extremely strict about bloodline control. Although he is only an illegitimate child, he may also be able to master the 10 shadow spells of the Zenin family. Even in the future, powerful despots like Fushiguro Megumi will choose to sell their gifted child Fushiguro Megumi to the Zenin family. Although Fuhei Shir was nominally doing it for money, in fact, he was doing it to protect his child Wei. If Gojo Satoru hadn't chosen to intervene in the end, Fushiguro Megumi would most likely have become a brick and a tool of the Zenin family. For Zenin, the only regret is that he has not mastered the technique yet. If he encounters a cursed spirit, he will probably be killed. Living in this world, weakness is the original sin. It has been more than 10 years since he traveled to this world, but until now, Zenin still cannot adapt to this Jujutsu world where cursed spirits kill people everywhere. And this was one of the reasons why he took the initiative to join Kamo Xianlun after Kamo Xianlun extended an olive branch to him. He knew that only by being protected by Kamo Xianlun could he survive in this world. Because, when it comes to magic power or combat talent, he is actually no different from ordinary people. In many cases, his reactions are even slower than others. Sometimes, he really admires the jujutsu masters of this world. They often show jujutsu talent at a very young age. He was able to master the technique while he was in school, and exercising cursed spirits became routine. Like Gojo Satoru, who will dominate the world in the future, he has become the strongest jujutsu master during the Jujutsu High School. Although it is still more than 100 years before the birth of Gojo Satoru, as a time traveler, Zenin knows that future jujutsu masters will live in the shadow of Gojo Satoru's 6 eyes. Zenin Ming does not have the talent of Gojo Satoru, but fortunately, he was born in the Zenin family, and he was born with the opportunity to awaken the 10 shadow spells. Therefore, it was in this way that he gained the favor of Kensuo and became his experimental assistant. At this time, we are still in the Meiji era, and staying alive is the most important thing. As for enjoying life, what can we enjoy about Neon in a world where technology is not yet developed? However, for Zenin Ming, he himself is not without some advantages. With his professional level before time travel, his understanding ability is far beyond that of ordinary people. Coupled with the bloodline advantage of the Zenin family, he soon became Kenshi's right-hand man and cooperated with him in many experiments. Until Kamo Xianlun met the woman who could be pregnant with cursed spirit's child. Advertisement: the most evil jujutsu master's experiment began. With his help, the cursed fetus 9-phase diagram was successfully born. Zenin knew that his behavior was very bad, but in order to survive, he could only become the scalpel in the hands of Kensuo. The only thing he could do was to help the mother of the cursed fetus, Lizzy, bury her. After all, as a bloodline of the Zenin family, he himself had already become a test subject for Kensuo, and signed a contract with Kensuo to provide corresponding experimental data for Kenshi's future exploration of the Zenin family's shadow magic. Zenin Ming knew that there would definitely be hidden dangers in the future when it came to seeking skin from a tiger. However, he could not think too far ahead at this time. After all, as a test subject, he could still survive. If he hadn't cooperated with Kensuo, he might have disappeared from this world long ago. Yes, Kamo Xianlun will give the laboratory to Zenin Ming precisely because of the contract between the two people. This contract is a constraint for Zenin Ming in the future, but it is a kind of protection for Zenin Ming now. As for another reason why Zenin Ming turned to Kamo Xianlun, he hoped to transform his body through Kamo Xianlun. With Zenin Ming's mediocre talent, he really couldn't think of any other way to control his own destiny in the future jujutsu world other than relying on Kenzo, the hidden boss. After all, the entire Zenin family has not produced the 10 most powerful shadow magic spells for a long time. Although Zenin Ming had fantasized about it, he also knew that the probability of awakening the shadow magic spell was almost zero. In fact, don't talk about mediocre talent like yourself. In the future, even Fushiguro Megumi, who possesses the shadow technique, will basically have no significant presence in the entire Jujutsu Kaisen world. It wasn't until Sukuna succeeded in succumbing to the flesh and completed the achievement of slicing Gojo Satoru in half that everyone began to realize the power of Fushiguro Megumi and the magic of shadow magic. In the early stage, the Zenin family's techniques may be more powerful than many jujutsu masters. However, once you reach the first level or even the special level, Zenin's ordinary spells become less obvious. When fighting against special level cursed spirits such as Sukuna, Lekko, Hanayu, and Zhenmao, the Zenin family's spells are even more powerless. Therefore, transforming your body and allowing yourself to break through limitations is Zenin's future survival rule. Awakening the 10 shadow magic spells is something that Zenin Ming has been thinking about since he knew that he was a member of the Zenin family. However, it is not easy to awaken the shadow magic spell in your own body. In this day and age, the only person who can be considered a madman is the most evil jujutsu master known as Kamo Xianlun in his writing style. Chapter 2: Genetic Modification, Kenshi's Conspiracy. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. According to my understanding of the original work in my previous life, the 10 shadow spells are the Zenin family's most powerful killing weapons, truly establishing the Zenin family's status as the Big Three Sorcerer Families. In the hands of Sukuna, it can even surpass 6 eyes plus unlimited techniques. However, no one knows how to awaken the 10 shadow magic spells. Zenin, the bearer of heavenly restriction, does not have any magical power, but can still give birth to Fushiguro Megumi, who awakens 10 shadow spells. Who can explain this kind of thing? However, because he is a time traveler, Zenin Ming has a new idea. Whether it is the 6 eyes traits of the Gojo family or the 10 shadow spells of the Zenin family, they are essentially the manifestation of the bloodlines of the 3 major families. What if you can't awaken the corresponding spell through your own talent, so is it possible to carry out your own genetic modification? If my genetic modification becomes like Fushiguro Megumi, who can adapt to 10 kinds of shadow magic, will I be able to awaken this kind of magic? Based on this conjecture, Ming proposed this bold idea to Kensuo. After Kensuo detected that Ming had no talent for magic, he also began to officially implement the genetic modification plan on Ming. Although Kensuo is the hidden boss, as he was still in the Meiji era at this time, his horizons were not as broad as those of the time traveler Ming. Therefore, when Ming proposed the genetic modification plan, Kensuo was like an enlightenment. The key factor in this genetic modification plan is to obtain enough genetic samples from the Zenin family. Especially the deceased of the Zenin family who had awakened 10 shadow magic spells. Ming couldn't do this kind of thing, but for the body-stealing expert Kensuo, it was easy to do. After Kamo Xianlun left, Ming looked around the Buddhist hall, and he saw Kensha's previous work, the 9 phases of the cursed fetus. 9 different fleshy objects are soaking in different containers. And Lizzy, a woman who gave birth to 9 children, was lying in the coffin of the Buddhist hall. As an assistant, Ming provided a lot of help to Kensuo during the birth of the 9-phase diagram of the cursed fetus. However, he also sympathized with the woman who gave birth to the cursed fetus, so after the woman gave birth to the last cursed fetus, she died. He silently helped the woman prepare a coffin, helped her bury her, and wished her to become a Buddha soon. And right next to the coffin, Ming suddenly noticed something was wrong. There are clearly only 9 vessels in the 9-phase diagram. Why did it seem to have turned into 10 when I just glanced at it? Ming turned around and looked over. The label on the last vessel read, Zenin family's 10 shadow magic dead gene fluids, Mingjun. Please decide for yourself whether you need to use them. Now, when Zenin left, he didn't take the 9 phases diagram with him, but he also left the Zenin family's genes behind. Advertisement Ming felt a little touched in his heart. No matter what the purpose of Kensuo leaving these things for himself, he knew that these things were extremely important to him at the moment. Whether he can become stronger in the future and whether he can occupy a place in the Jujutsu world of Jujutsu Kaisen, where there are many strong people, can only rely on the genes provided by Kenzo. Kensuo, I know you just want to give it a try. I also know that I am just your test subject, but I will not just accept my fate. Close black lens bracket. If I can awaken the corresponding spell, maybe I can become a chess player. After all, it's still the Meiji era, and it's not the main plot of Jujutsu Kaisen. Close black lens bracket. In this world, there is no Gojo Satoru and no awakened Ryomen Sukuna. The time to return from death has not yet come. After awakening the shadow magic, it is enough to enjoy this life. Close black lens bracket. Ming looked at the genes in his hands and made up his mind. After all, it is better than being an ordinary person anyway. Moreover, once he loses the protection of Kamo Xianlun, his fate will not be much better. Let me test it out. In this strange world, using genetic modification can give me the right to change the world. As soon as I wake up, this world without Gojo Satoru and Ryomen Sukuna will revolve around my will, right? If you don't wake up, it wouldn't be bad to die like this. Ming looked at the genetic fluid in his hand again, his expression gradually becoming serious. He knows that there are too many uncertain factors in evolution at the genetic level. The genetic fluid left to him by the brain flower in front of him may be the key to changing his destiny, or it may be the venom that ruins his life. At this moment, he had neither the capital nor the opportunity to conduct in vivo experiments. After all, it is difficult to find a Zenin bloodline for experimentation. What's even more difficult is that I only have this little genetic fluid and no capital to squander it. At the moment, Ming couldn't even estimate the probability that he could survive successfully. However, he could only take this gamble. In the future, whether he can control his own destiny, whether he can live with dignity and escape the fate of ordinary people swallowed by the cursed spirit. All of this can only be seen in the bottle of genetic fluid that Kamo Xianlun left for himself. As for, did Kamo Xianlun do anything with this bottle of genetic fluid? Ming no longer cares. Anyway, the worst thing is death. He can accept the worst outcome, and other problems are nothing more than trivial matters. Without too much hesitation, Zenin suddenly injected the genetic fluid directly into his body. Almost at the moment when the genetic fluid was injected into his body, Zenin couldn't control himself and screamed. He swore he had never experienced such pain in his life. Heartbreaking. Biting to the bone. I originally thought that I had done so many experiments with Kamo Xianlun, but Ming's body's resistance and endurance were already strong enough. Advertisement in Ming's view, no pain can compare to the helplessness of not being able to control his future. However, when the pain really appeared, he realized that he was just an ordinary person. So ordinary that I can't even endure the pain. Ming originally lay on the wooden bed next to the coffin for the injection, but while rolling in unconscious pain, he fell into the coffin he had prepared for Lizzy. Then, he completely lost consciousness. The next second, a mutated tent was spread around the room, and Kamo Xianlun's memory image suddenly appeared in the room. Naru-kun, this is the opportunity I give you. This genetic fluid contains the Gojo family's 6 eyes gene, the Zenin family's 10 shadow spell controller genes, and the red blood manipulation gene in my body. If the genetic modification you mentioned did not deceive me, maybe I created a very terrifying monster? But genetic modification or something like that is simply impossible, right? The memory image of the brainiac in the room disappeared completely after laughing at himself. This basement behind the temple is completely isolated from the world. The genes of the Gojo family, the Kamo family, and the Zenin family began to collapse and reorganize inside Zenin Ming's body. The genes of the Big Three Sorcerer Families simply cannot be fused in Zenin Ming's body. Naohua's experiment is simply whimsical. If Zenin Ming knew that this tube of genetic fluid was mixed with the genes of the Big Three Sorcerer Families, he would never risk his life and inject the genetic fluid into his body. He is the illegitimate son of the Zenin family, not the illegitimate son of the Gojo family and the Kamo family. He only covets the Zenin family's 10 shadow spells, but he doesn't covet the Gojo family's 6 eyes and the Kamo family's red blood magic at all. Hatred. The moment Zenin Ming lost consciousness, he learned about Naohua's experimental plan. With strong resentment towards Naohua, he completely lost control of his body. If there was a chance to wake up, he would definitely thank Naohua with his own hands for sending him this painful human experiment. The unconscious Zenin Ming began to lose weight day by day, and he will die in this secret room before long. This was part of Kamo Xianlun's plan. After learning about Kamo Xianlun's experiment, Zenin Ming was as expected. Zenin Ming, this weak time traveler, is about to disappear into this world. He is not a protagonist like Gojo Satoru, nor a villain like Ryomen Sukuna. He has no qualifications to leave even a trace in this world. 3 months later, the entire secret room was filled with the resentment that Zenin Ming had before he fell into coma. Naohua has also forgotten Zenin Ming, a test subject. Advertisement, however, no one thought that in this mutated tent, Zenin Ming would still be alive. The hatred in the entire secret room changed from 1 to 2. Lizzy, the mother of the 9-phase diagram of the cursed fetus, awakened under the resonance of Zenin Ming's hatred. Although Zenin Ming lost consciousness, the continuous recombination of the genes of the Big Three Sorcerer Families brought him unparalleled spell power. And this curse power that he couldn't control, unconsciously cursed Lizzy beside him, turning it into a special cursed spirit. After waking up, Lizi regarded Zenin Ming, who also had the Kamo Xianlun blood gene, as her child. With the help of Lizzie's curse and the support of the other 9 cursed fetuses, Zenin Ming's vitality has been maintained. In this way, a delicate balance was reached between the speed of genetic recombination of the Big Three Sorcerer Families in Zenin Ming's body and the speed of repair of Lizi and the 9 sorcerer fetuses. In Naohua's mini tent, with almost weak consumption, Zenin Ming was forgotten like this, lingering and gasping for breath. 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, 100 years. 150 years later, Paranormal Phenomena Research Society. Senior Sasaki, Senior Okkotsu, I have to go back before 5 o'clock today, so why don't we go exploring some supernatural phenomenon today? In the activity room, a man with pink spiked short hair, light golden eyes, and wearing a light yellow hoodie and jeans looked helplessly at the 2 seniors from the same school in front of him. The reason why he joined the Paranormal Phenomena Research Association was because the president Sasaki told him that he only needed to be a member of the Void and did not need to participate in the activities at all. If his grandfather hadn't forced him to do so, Itadori Yuji wouldn't have wanted to join any club at all. Hey, Yuji, don't worry. This place is not far away, and it will definitely be over before 5 o'clock. Please, Yuji. Sasaki clasped his hands together in a gesture of supplication. Although she and Okkotsu are both formal members of the Paranormal Phenomena Research Association, their courage is really small. Now that a strong young man like Itadori Yuji has joined, how can they not take him to participate in activities to strengthen their courage? Really are. Itadori Yuji scratched his head and finally agreed. As promised, it must be over before 5 o'clock. He had to rush to the hospital to see his grandfather. Although his grandfather didn't say anything and acted very angry, he already had a hunch that there should only be a few days left before his grandfather left this world correctly. Thank you, Yuji. Without you, Reiken really doesn't know what he would do. Sasaki and Okkotsu breathed a sigh of relief. Without Itadori accompanying them, they would not have dared to explore the ruined temple today. Chapter 3 6 Eyes, or the Red Blood Technique, previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Hey, has this temple been abandoned for so long? Sasaki looked at the decaying temple with disappointment on her face. She thought there would be some special supernatural traces left in this dilapidated temple. Itadori Yuji stepped on a piece of rotten floor and looked a little embarrassed. Senior Sasaki, you are a talent for being able to discover this place. It's so hidden here. If you hadn't led the way, I would have gotten lost. Although Itadori Yuji didn't know what the spiritual research was going to do, he felt very comfortable getting along with Sasaki and Iguchi these days. He didn't think it was a waste of time to accompany them to fool around outside. Well, this temple was built at least hundreds of years ago, however, it looks like it has been abandoned for more than 100 years. There shouldn't be much to explore. Sasaki walked to Itadori Yuji in disappointment, preparing to leave with him. However, just as they were about to turn around and leave, the voice from the well suddenly came over. Sasaki, Yuji, come and take a look, there seems to be a basement here. Senior, please give way and I will open it and take a look. Itadori Yuji looked at the well-sealed basement roof with curiosity on his face. Now that he is here, he also wants to know if there is anything special hidden in this temple. Itadori Yuji pulled the top cover hard, and to his surprise, the top cover was so strong that even he couldn't open it. This is an incredible thing for him whose physical fitness is far beyond ordinary people. After all, if he wanted to do it, he could easily break all the world records, so how could he be hindered by a small cap? But, just when Itadori Yuji was ready to try again with all his strength, Sasaki's stammering voice suddenly sounded in his ears. Yuji, why don't we just don't want them? Maybe these are cultural relics, and it would be bad if they were destroyed by us. Advertisement. Sasaki looked at Itadori's unconvinced look, and her heart was pounding. She might not be able to persuade Itadori. Hey, it's already 5 o'clock. Iguchi on the side suddenly said something, which made Itadori Yuji's eyes widen. Is it 5 o'clock? It's over. It's going to be late. Sasaki-senpai and Iguchi-senpai, I'll go back first. After saying that, Itadori Yuji directly picked up the bag and disappeared in front of Sasaki and Iguchi. Watching Itadori leave, Sasaki and Iguchi looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. It's better not to move around, it will be bad if you cause any trouble. Jinguchi, I can't tell you were quite clever. Sasaki punched Iguchi, a smile appearing behind his glasses. And the honest-looking Jinguchi also smiled and said in a low voice. Sasaki, let's go back too, the sun is almost setting. Sasaki nodded and looked around the ruins of the temple. Well, let's go. Lingian's exploration activity ended in failure again. The shadows of Sasaki and Iguchi were getting lower and lower under the setting sun. The orange-red sunlight swayed on the ruins of the temple and Sasaki and the two of them, plating everything that shone with a layer of gold. Where Sasaki and Iguchi didn't see it, a black mist slowly emerged from the edge of the basement roof they had discovered before. At the moment when the sun was about to set, the basement roof, which had been closed for a long time, became loose. Well, Zeniming opened his eyes forcefully. Where is this place? Am I dead, or have I traveled through time again? Sitting up from the coffin, Zeniming first saw a cursed spirit with a ferocious face. Although the appearance of the cursed spirit was extremely terrifying and completely different from before, Zeniming recognized the identity of the cursed spirit immediately. Lizzy. Hearing Zeniming call her name, Lizzy, who had become a special cursed spirit, gently touched Zeniming's face, her eyes full of love. Advertisement. What happened? Zeniming felt that his body seemed to be inexplicably connected to 10 creatures. Among them, the one with the clearest connection is Lizzy beside him. The other 9 seemed to have a common bloodline with him, waiting for his call at any time. The ferocious cursed spirit incarnated by Lizzy made a hissing and hoarse voice, and the meaning could not be expressed in human language. However, Zeniming still understood the meaning of her words. My child, you finally woke up. Your 9 younger brothers have become one with you. Zeniming didn't react at first, but then, when he saw the 9 broken petri dishes surrounding the curse, he roughly realized the meaning of Lizzy's words. Does Lizzy regard herself with the blood of Kamo Xianlun as his child? Close black lens bracket. What does it mean that the 9-phase diagram of the cursed fetus has become one with itself? Is it because of the 9-phase diagram of the cursed fetus that I am able to survive? Close black lens bracket. The other 9 mysterious creatures that I sensed are the 9 cursed fetuses? Lizzy and her 9 cursed children all signed a contract with herself? Close black lens bracket. Zeniming was a little confused about his identity at this time, he didn't know what happened. However, judging from the abundant curse power in Lizzy, Lizzy must have been inexplicably cursed and became a cursed spirit who signed a contract with herself. Then aren't you the same as Okkotsu Yūta, the god of pure love and war? Do you want to be the god of war of pure love during the Meiji period? Close black lens bracket. However, Riko's feelings for him seem to be different from those between Okkotsu Yūta and Rika. The relationship between Yūta and Rika is love, while the relationship between Riko and herself is family affection. Close black lens bracket. Well, Zenin sighed and said softly, since I am alive because of you, and you mistakenly identify me as your child, I will be your child in this life. I will regard the 9 cursed fetuses you left behind as my brothers. You have become my guardian cursed spirit, so I am also obliged to protect your child. Xinan Ming felt a trace of joy in his heart. Even if his genetic modification failed, at least he would have a special cursed spirit like Lizzy guarding him. Moreover, he seems to be able to summon the 9-phase diagram of the cursed fetus. It's already very good. This kind of self is equivalent to having a special grade cursed spirit like Okkotsu Yūta, the god of pure love, as a guardian. Close black lens bracket. Being able to manipulate the 9-phase diagram of the cursed fetus is similar to having the cursed spirit manipulation technique like Sha Yuja. According to the original world line, 3 of the 9 cursed spirits in the 9-phase diagram are special grade cursed spirits. This level of strength is considered unique. Close black lens bracket. Based on this, is it equivalent to having the strength of 2 special level Jujutsu masters? Close black lens bracket. Xinan Ming suddenly felt that he was a blessing in disguise. Even if the genetic modification failed and he could not master the Xinan family's techniques, then with the cursed spirit technique and the guardianship of Riko, he would be enough to dominate in the Meiji era, right? Advertisement. Xinan Ming dragged his hungry body and crawled out of the coffin. Cursed spirit Riko was floating behind Xinan Ming. The two of them were in exactly the same state as when Okkotsu Yūta first entered Jujutsu High School. Why is there such a rotten smell all around? Xinan Ming frowned and waved his hand, using the moonlight shining in the sky to find a mirror. I wonder if I'm starved to the point of skin and bones now? It feels like I'll have to sleep for at least a month or two, right? Xinan Ming had no idea how much time had passed at this time. He still believed that he was in the Meiji era, and was still thinking about how to live in this era in the future. However, the next second, the picture in the mirror disrupted his inner thoughts. Looking at his own appearance in the mirror, Xinan Ming's heart was filled with shock. He is no longer what Xinan Ming looked like before, and the details of his facial features have returned to what they were before the time travel. At this time, he had long pure white hair and looked very young. The most important thing was that his eyelashes were also white, and his pupils were filled with dreamy azure. This is 6 eyes? This is the eye of the sky? Xinan Ming's heart was full of doubts. He couldn't believe his eyes, but he could confirm that these eyes were exactly the same as the eyes of Gojo Satoru in the original work. Could it be said that Kensuo succeeded in genetically modifying himself? However, isn't his main transformation goal the Xinan family's 10 shadow spells? Judging from this body, I should be more adaptable to the Xinan family's techniques. Xinan Ming felt the changes in his body. After discovering that he could not use the shadow spell, he suspected that the Xinan family's genes could not compete with the 6 eyes genes added by Kensuo. Therefore, what I currently exhibit is the 6 eyes trait of the Gojo family. This isn't bad at all. However, Xinan Ming still doubted whether his 6 eyes was just a show-off. Because at present, he does not have the 360-degree long-distance vision of 6 eyes. Now, he cannot even see Lizzy behind him with these eyes that are suspected to be the eyes of the sky. Taking a step forward subconsciously, Xinan Ming stepped on the broken glass on the ground. The broken glass of the cursed petri dish penetrated directly into the soles of Xinan Ming's feet through the rotten cloth shoes. Xinan Ming felt a stinging pain, and then bright red blood flowed out from the wound. He lowered his head subconsciously, and through the moonlight, he felt that the strings of blood pouring out of the soles of his feet could be directly controlled by him. This is Red Blood Exercise Technique? Chapter 4. Am I considered the god of motherly love? Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Xinan Ming was filled with surprise and completely ignored the wound that was still bleeding. Although he didn't know how to manipulate these blood beads, he realized that this should be the effect that Naohua had on his body with the help of the genes left by Kamo Xianlun's body. I can actually use the red blood technique. This is a technique that the Big Three Sorcerer Families Kamo rarely produces, and now it appears directly on him. In other words, Kamo Xianlun's genes can also work on himself? Currently, he has 6 eyes, which is suspected to be the Gojo family's genes, and he is suspected to have the red blood manipulation technique, which is the Kamo family's genes. Why, even though I am the most capable of the Xinan family, I am the least capable of mastering it. Is the Xinan family's shadow magic really weak? This shouldn't be the case. If it's really weak, why would Ryoman Sukuna choose Fushiguro Megumi as his body in the future? Obviously, Sukuna also covets the ability of the 10 shadow spells. I can't figure it out. Xinan Ming felt that his body still needed more time and energy to study. After all, after being genetically modified, he really couldn't figure out which family he belonged to. At present, this body looks like a hybrid of various abilities. Cursed Spirit Manipulation. Cursed Spirit Protects. Eyes of the Sky. Red Blood Exercise. Advertisement. No matter which one of these abilities is mastered, he will become a strong man in this era. Now, it seems that Xinan Ming may also have these 4 abilities. As long as he recovers, there will be no problem in dominating the entire Meiji era, right? Ming reluctantly used the blood manipulation ability that he had not yet mastered to seal the wound on his foot, and silently crawled out of the basement. The tent was destroyed not long ago, so it was those guys from the Jujutsu Master Association who found this place. But after they found this place, why didn't they come in to find me? Ming said to himself. Behind him, Lizzy roared in response. Huh? Lizzy? You mean, someone who smells very close to me appeared here before and broke the bank? Ming touched his chin, his expression lost in thought. Does it taste very close to yours? Could it be someone from the Zenin family? Ming looked around while thinking. When he saw the dilapidated and decayed temple, he was shocked. What the hell? Didn't I just sleep for a few months? How come this temple has become like this? Close black lens bracket. A suspicion suddenly appeared in Ming's mind. Could it be that I haven't been asleep for several months, but slept for a long time? Isn't it already the Meiji period? Close black lens bracket. Ming's face changed, as if he realized something, and he quickly ran to the edge of the cliff. Looking at the brightly lit city in the distance, he realized that he had been in a coma from the Meiji period to modern times. Based on the size of this city, he doubted that it was now the 21st century. Lizzy, how many years have we stayed in there? Ming murmured to himself, not asking Lizzy questions. We have to go and see what this new world is like. Ming had some speculation in his heart. The idea of becoming king in the Meiji period has completely come to nothing. In this unknown modern era, Ming suspects that he has awakened in the most turbulent era in the original work. Advertisement in this way, Ming took Lizzy and walked down the mountain wearing a kimono from the Meiji period, covered with stars and moon. And behind him, the elongated shadow, where Ming couldn't see, was constantly changing its shape. Dog, rabbit, elephant, bird, snake. The shapes of many animals flowed in his shadow. It's been 150 years. After casually finding a convenience store, Ming asked about the current era amid the strange looks from others. Tokyo in the 21st century. 150 years have passed like this, and I have truly passed from the Meiji era to the present day. Therefore, the current environment is no longer the environment Ming knew before. Ming was so hungry that he almost fainted. With the help of Lizzy, he bought some food from the convenience store for 0 yuan, and then returned to the ruins of the temple. Now he does not belong to this era at all, and he is completely homeless. Although this place has been abandoned, it can still be regarded as his residence for 150 years. Moreover, apart from this abandoned temple, there seemed to be no other place he could go. Although he has also read the original work, after traveling for such a long time, he does not know what happened in the current time corresponding to the original work. Has Itadori Yuji joined Jujutsu High School? Has Ryomen Sukuna made a deal with Itadori? Has the brain flower taken over Sha Yuja's body? These things can only wait for him to explore slowly in the future, but at the moment, for Ming, the most important thing is to find Kensuo. When he was an assistant to Kensuo, he signed a contract with him. Now Kensuo doesn't know his current situation. Once he realizes that he is Ming 150 years ago, then, under this contract, he will not be able to do anything detrimental to Kensuo. Advertisement: he was going to take revenge on Kong Suo. This kind of genetic modification plan that randomly adds other items is completely equivalent to ignoring his life and death. If it weren't for chance, he wouldn't have survived until now. He's alive, so it's time for him to take revenge on Kensuo. He is a time traveler, not a native. Perhaps, in Kensha's view, he mistakenly believed that the object of his contract was Kamo Xianlun, that Kamo Xianlun was dead and that his contract had been terminated. But, unfortunately, I know it very well. The real object of his contract is Naohua. As long as the contract is not terminated, he will not be able to cause harm to Naohua in the future. In this case, I can't take revenge on Naohua. This is quite disgusting to me. 150 years ago, I was tricked and killed by Naohua. I came back to life 150 years later. Why don't I repay Naohua? There is no need for the name Ming. Anyway, he is just an illegitimate son of the Zenin family. This name is also familiar to Kensuo, so he should use his own name. Ming sat on the edge of the cliff, admiring the moonlight, eating a sandwich, and said to Lizzy, who was guarding him. Lizzy, please call me Lu Ming from now on. This is my original name. Hiss. Lizzy opened her mouth and responded hoarsely. Open black lens bracket Mingjun. Close black lens bracket. Listening to Lizzy's response, Lu Ming smiled. That's right. For Lizzy, no matter what name she changed, she would always call herself this. Being treated like a child by a special grade cursed spirit is, well, a really special feeling. Okkotsu Yūta is the god of pure love. What does this mean to me? Motherly god of war. Chapter 5. The main plot begins the next day after waking up. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. After resting for a whole day in the dilapidated temple, when Lu Ming opened his eyes again, it was already the night of the second day. How long have I been sleeping? Why is it not daylight yet? Lu Ming touched his hungry belly and frowned slightly. After hearing Lizi tell him that he had slept all day, he felt a little helpless. Have you not adapted to this new body yet? You slept for so long? It's terrible, it's such a waste of time. Lu Ming stretched and patted Lizi. Let's go on, let's go find something to eat. Originally, I wanted to go see the point of this era during the day, but now, it seems, we have to wait another day. Lizi nodded and followed silently. It's another day where you need to buy something for $0. When Lu Ming was holding the food that Lizzy bought for 0 yuan, Lizzy suddenly turned to the side, and she felt a familiar breath. Huh? You mean, the person with a similar aura to me showed up again yesterday? Lu Ming raised his eyebrows and had some guesses in his mind. In this era, except for Gojo Satoru, who has 6 eyes, Kamo Noritoshi, who masters the red blood art, and Fushiguro Megumi, who masters the 10 types of shadow magic from the Zenin family, there are probably only protagonists in anime who can have similar auras. Itadori Yuji. It couldn't have been the Jujutsu division who broke the tent yesterday. If it was the Jujutsu division, there was no way they wouldn't have explored the basement wrapped in the tent. Therefore, the person who Riko said has a similar aura to herself should be Itadori Yuji. After all, Itadori Yuji is Kenzo's child, and it is reasonable for him to be paid attention to by Riko, who hates Kenzo. Itadori appeared here in the middle of the night. Judging from the situation yesterday that Itadori was not a Jujutsu master and did not know enough about accounts, today Itadori should be taking care of his grandfather in the hospital. Close black lens bracket. You are still coming out so late. Could it be that today is the moment when Sukuna's finger is unsealed? Is it such a coincidence that after waking up, you will enter the main line the next day? Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming twitched his lips. He didn't know if his guess was correct, but he was somewhat looking forward to meeting Itadori Yuji, the most perfect test subject of Kensuo. Is this Sukuna carrier carefully prepared by Kesso as special as the one in the anime? Advertisement. Lizzy, can you track that person? Let's go and have a look too. Lu Ming held milk in one hand and a sandwich in the other, and followed Lizi swaying forward. If it is as Lu Ming guessed, then it is Itadori Yuji and Fushiguro Megumi who are anxious, and he has nothing to worry about. In the original work, Itadori Yuji picked up Sukuna's finger. However, in Lu Ming's opinion, this Sukuna's finger is probably the design of Kanso. If I follow Itadori, will I have a chance to meet Kenzo? Or was it that he had actually passed by Kensuo from the moment he woke up? They will die. Fushiguro Megumi and Itadori Yuji were running wildly. Can the talisman of the cursed object be torn open at will? Itadori Yuji ran again and again while asking, but his breath did not change in any way due to running. No, people without magic power can't do it, generally speaking, that's the case. Fushiguro Megumi responded. Hearing this, Itadori breathed a sigh of relief. Most people couldn't untie the talismans, so there shouldn't be any danger. Go to the right and take a shortcut. Itadori Yuji turned right, and Fushiguro Megumi also turned around in time. Not far behind them, a young man wearing an old blue kimono followed unhurriedly. Although he was just walking, the distance between him and the 2 people in front of him never widened. Fushiguro Megumi followed Itadori Yuji and continued. But this time the cursed object is too powerful, and the seal has become deeper over time, just like a piece of paper. Itadori Yuji immediately looked helpless. However, I still find it incredible to hear you talk about curse. It's here. Advertisement. Taking a shortcut, the 2 quickly came to the school wall, but the moment they stopped, a strong pressure came from the school. Purple mist visible to the naked eye was escaping from the 4th floor of the school. What's this pressure about? Itadori Yuji stared at the teaching building with his eyes wide open. The school at night looked completely different from that during the day, giving off an eerie feeling. Fushiguro Megumi's expression suddenly became very serious. You stay here, then. He climbed directly over the iron gate and prepared to enter the school. Seeing this scene, Itadori stepped forward and said loudly. I'm going too. It's very dangerous, isn't it? Although I have known my seniors not long ago, they are my friends and I can't ignore them. Fushiguro Megumi stood against the door, with his back to Itadori Yuji, a trace of rejection flashing in his eyes. Stay here. Finally, he jumped into the school and ran towards the 4th floor of the teaching building. Well, it is indeed the beginning of the main plot. Lu Ming stretched, and everything was just as he guessed. Tonight was the time for Ryomen Sukuna's fingers to be unsealed. It is also the beginning of the entire Jujutsu Kaisen. I wonder if Kensuo is watching in this school? My dear child is here to become the carrier of Sukuna. This rare scene is not allowed to be seen with one's own eyes? Lu Ming muttered to himself. Huh? Lizzy, you said you would go check around to see if there are any traces of the rope? Okay, you go ahead, I should be able to handle it here alone. Although he had only woken up for 2 days and the genes in his body did not seem to have stabilized, Lu Ming still felt that there was a lot of magic power in his body. Dealing with the cursed spirit in this school is not a piece of cake. Advertisement. Lizzy received Lu Ming's affirmative answer, and her entire figure disappeared instantly. Lu Ming walked to Itadori Yuji's side leisurely. I can only listen to what he says and wait here. What am I afraid of? Seniors will die. Yes, the breath of death is there after all, and I am also afraid of death. Am I afraid? I don't feel it at all. I cried, not because I was afraid, but because I was a little lonely. Grandpa's death, and the death that happened in front of me. What's different? Itadori Yuji's hands kept shaking. Listening to Itadori Yuji's soliloquy, Lu Ming knew that it was now time for Itadori Yuji's inner struggle and self-awakening. You are strong, go and save others. Grandpa's words kept coming to Itadori's mind. Hey, little brother, you look confused. Why are you standing here in a daze? Did you leave something in the school? Lu Ming's words awakened Itadori Yuji, who was deep in thought. He turned his head subconsciously and saw Lu Ming wearing an ancient kimono. Classmate, this is very dangerous, you should leave quickly. I am indeed very strong, so I have to save others. Itadori Yuji didn't expect that someone would appear near the school in the middle of the night. This person's clothes are a bit strange, and his temperament does not look like a modern person. Besides, why is he wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night? However, he has no time to worry about it. He wants to save his seniors just like Fushiguro Megumi. You should leave quickly, Itadori Yuji emphasized, and he jumped over the iron gate in one leap and entered the school. Chapter 6. Sukuna's fingers are crunchy. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Well, is he really a gentle and troubled person? I don't know how Kensuo gave birth to such a gentle child. However, Zhang Shang is also very gentle and always takes care of his brothers. Sure enough, all the original sin lies with Kensuo. Lu Ming stretched out, kicked open the iron door leisurely, and continued to follow Itadori Yuji. Until he saw Itadori Yuji standing on the first floor, he jumped up to the 4th floor. Tisk, 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 is this the most successful work of Kensuo? With a body that is so extraordinary, it is indeed a body prepared for Sukuna. Close black lens bracket. However, it is a pity that Sukuna is greedy for Fushiguro Megumi's body, and Tarako is just a transition for Sukuna. Close black lens bracket. Kensuo, it's also a work. If you care so much about Huzzy and don't care about me in the 9 Cursed Fetus, we will also be jealous, right? Close black lens bracket. Haha, well, all 10 of our works have died once. It shouldn't have anything to do with Kensuo, right? Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming lamented the physical strength of Itadori Yuji, and at the same time, he was also sorting out how to survive in this era in the future. With Lizi and Ju Fu Fei, he is very powerful. It is equivalent to a combination of Okkotsu Yūta and Sha Yuja, but compared to them, his spell power is still a bit too weak. I don't know if the red blood manipulation technique in the body and the pair of 6 eyes are useful. Facing Shankansuo, he might not be able to beat him one-on-one. Moreover, once Kensuo guesses his identity and uses the contract, he will have no way to retaliate against Kensuo. Since everyone has awakened in this era, why not borrow the help of the 6 Eyes Son of God in this era? Gojo Satoru, who is the only one in the world, must be very interested in the Wan Sea that occupies Sha Yuja's body, right? Follow Gojo Satoru to improve your abilities. As long as you follow the protagonist group, there is always a chance to meet Gojo Satoru. Tonight, let's play along with the main storyline. Let everything take its course. Advertisement. I am a player from the chaotic neutral camp. Close black lens bracket. I hope that before Gojo Satoru becomes 2.5 Satoru, he will create an opportunity for me to face one-on-one with Kenzo. Even if it fails, I hope to have a good exchange of experiences with this teacher. Lu Ming silently jumped up the tall building according to Itadori Yuji's method. In the teaching building, Itadori jumped from the 1st floor to the 4th floor. At the most critical moment, he kicked away the cursed spirit that was about to swallow Reiken Senpai. Grandpa's death was right, but the death here is not correct. Fushiguro Megumi's face was filled with shock when he saw Itadori Yuji save Sasaki and Iguchi, and complete the physical subjugation of demons with one punch. When Lu Ming, who was in the shadows, saw this scene, he wanted to complain. Yuji, do you have to mention the correct way of death for Grandpa? If Grandpa has a soul in heaven, if he hears this, I'm afraid he will die of filial piety from you. However, Itadori's body is really powerful. He can directly defeat demons with his body, which is not bad. It is indeed a good work. Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming continued to watch quietly, witnessing everything that happened. As this curse, Itadori Yuji's eyes widened, realizing that the monster in front of him was completely different from what he imagined. It's so ugly. Just when he was thinking about how to get rid of the ugly cursed spirit with his fists, the next second, the cursed spirit was torn directly out of thin air, and two dogs, one black and one white, rushed up to gnaw at the remains of the cursed spirit. Itadori Yuji stared blankly at Fushiguro Megumi, who was rubbing his shoulders. Looking at the two black and white dogs, he didn't know what to say. I wanted to ask you why you came, but you did a good job. Hearing Fushiguro Megumi's condescending tone, Itadori Yuji's face grew long. Advertisement, what are you dragging? Hey, what's eating curse over there? Itadori Yuji looked at the two dogs, one black and one white, and asked curiously. Appearing here so late and then nibbling curse, it seems that he is no ordinary barking dog. It's my Shikigami, you can see it, right? Fushiguro Megumi put his hands in his pockets, glanced at the gluttonous jade dog behind him, and continued. Ordinary people can't see curse, it's just the moment of death or special occasions like this. Itadori Yuji nodded broadly. Oh, that's true. I've never seen a ghost or anything in my whole life. The whole person's tone seemed very leisurely. Itadori Yuji's state surprised Fushiguro Megumi. Aren't you scared? Itadori Yuji rolled his eyes at Fushiguro Megumi. Huh? I was quite scared at first. You know, people do die. So, I want to at least let the people I know die correctly. But, I don't quite understand. Itadori Yuji picked up Sasaki, and the item wrapped in the talisman fell from Sasaki's pocket. Itadori grabbed the cursed object and asked casually, is this it? You were looking for it? Well, a special grade cursed object. It's a miracle that Ryomen Sukuna's finger wasn't eaten. Advertisement Fushiguro Megumi explained coldly. Seeing this scene in Lu Ming's eyes, he just felt that the two people had such big hearts, so did they have to communicate here? Why eat it? Is it delicious? Itadori Yuji didn't expect that this finger could be used in this way. Crackling, chicken flavor, it's okay, you'll find out soon. Fushiguro, if you don't react, you'll get hurt again. Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming chuckled lightly, looking at the traces of cursed spirit on the ceiling, looking forward to the tiger eating his fingers behind. What nonsense are you talking about? It's to get powerful magic power. This thing is very dangerous. Give it to me quickly. Fushiguro Megumi's face is full of black lines and he doesn't know how to complain about Itadori Yuji. However, the moment he raised his head, his face was filled with panic. Behind him, the two jade dogs also reacted and rushed to Fushiguro Megumi's side. Run! Fushiguro Megumi pushed Itadori Yuji away, and the next second, a huge cursed spirit fell from the ceiling and hit Fushiguro Megumi hard. The smoke dissipated, and a huge blue cursed spirit appeared in front of Itadori Yuji's eyes. This cursed spirit is 10 times the size of a normal person. The most disgusting thing about it is that the tongue of this cursed spirit is covered with dense eyes. Fushiguro Megumi is currently being held by this cursed spirit. The embarrassed Fushiguro Megumi reluctantly crossed his hands and made hand shadows. He just shouted, "Nu," and was about to summon the second Shikigami. But cursed spirit didn't give him a chance at all and threw it aside. The violent impact caused Fushiguro Megumi to spurt out a mouthful of blood. Under such an attack, Fushiguro Megumi not only failed to summon Nu, but even the two previously summoned jade dogs could not maintain their form and melted away. Chapter 7 Can I also shadow magic? Previous chapter Next chapter. Advertisement Open black lens bracket I'm coming. The show is about to begin. Close black lens bracket. Well, what is going on? Is this how to summon the jade dog? Isn't it suspected that I only have the genes for 6 eyes and the red blood technique in my body now? Why does the shadow spell also exist? Close black lens bracket. Could it be said that the genetic modification project was successful? I also have the talent of shadow magic, but I didn't realize it yesterday. Close black lens bracket. In the shadows, Lu Ming felt that there was something more in his mind and was very surprised. If he possesses these talents at the same time, it means that he seems to be able to use the secret techniques of the 3 major families at the same time. Jade dog. Lu Ming just subconsciously wanted to try it. In his opinion, since he didn't make a dog-like hand shadow like Fushiguro Megumi, he shouldn't be able to summon a jade dog. However, what surprised him was that the moment he called out jade dog, his own shadow actually started to move. The hands of his own shadow actually took the initiative to hold them together, making a dog-like hand shadow. The next second, 2 jade dogs, one black and one white, appeared out of thin air. Open black lens bracket. Oh, am I successful in taming the jade dog? Close black lens bracket. Is it that simple? What about Nu? Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming whispered. Nu? In a low voice, but this time, his shadow did not make a bird-like hand shadow like Fushiguro Megumi. Therefore, Nu was not summoned. Okay, let's use the Jade dog first. Maybe, Nu hasn't been successfully tamed yet, maybe I need to see Fushiguro Megumi released with my own eyes, right? Advertisement. Lu Ming smiled mockingly to himself. Sure enough, even if he had the talent for 10 shadow spells, he would not be able to master each shadow spell on his own before he got used to this body. Go ahead and eat it, Jade dog. Lu Ming pointed with his right hand, and 2 Jade dogs, one black and one white, rushed directly towards the cursed spirit that caught Fushiguro Megumi. At the moment when the Jade dog rushed out, Fushiguro Megumi and Itadori Yuji realized Lu Ming's existence. Classmate, why are you here? Didn't I tell you to leave quickly before? Itadori Yuji has a profound memory of Lu Ming, who was still wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night. Fushiguro Megumi was completely shocked. Why would there be a pair of Jade dogs here? Could it be said that this is the Shikigami of the young man in sunglasses in front of me? But isn't the Jade dog only tamed by the Zenin family's 10 shadow spells? Why can the young man in front of me be summoned? Could it be that this young man in sunglasses is a member of the Zenin family? In the blink of an eye, the 2 Jade dogs summoned by Lu Ming had bitten off the cursed spirit's fingers and freed the restrained Fushiguro Megumi. At the moment of being rescued, Fushiguro Megumi held his hands, made a dog-like hand shadow, and called Jade dog in a low voice. In an instant, another pair of Jade dogs also appeared in the corridor. The 4 Jade dogs attacked in a staggered manner. In the original work, the cursed spirit had to be killed by Itadori swallowing his finger and transforming into Sukuna. However, it was bitten to pieces by the Jade dogs of Lu Ming and Fushiguro Megumi. Brother, are you also a Jujutsu master? Seeing this scene, Itadori Yuji hugged Sasaki and felt that he had guessed Lu Ming's identity. After all, with 4 Jade dogs standing here, anyone can tell that the other 2 are not Fushiguro Megumi's Shikigami. Ah, oh. Jujutsu master, that's right, advertisement. Lu Ming nodded, but his attention was not on Itadori Yuji. At this time, his eyes kept wandering back and forth between his pair of Jade dogs and Fushiguro Megumi's pair of Jade dogs. Why is my Jade dog smaller than Fushiguro Megumi's Jade dog? It shouldn't be. Is my current spell power weaker than Fushiguro Megumi's? Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming rubbed his chin, his blue eyes behind his sunglasses filled with displeasure. Or is it because the genes of the Big Three Sorcerer Families are adjusting, so there is no way to increase the spell power? Without the support of magic power, even if you really master the ancestral technique of the Big Three Sorcerer Families, you may not be able to use it a few times, right? Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming made a guess in his mind, which he thought was the best guess for his physical condition. However, what no one can see is that an invisible thread behind Lu Ming's body is connecting to the distance, and the magic power in Lu Ming's body is constantly being transmitted along this thread. Are you from the Zenin family? Fushiguro Megumi's expression was a little strange. He had never seen the person in front of him before. Moreover, this long pure white hair, paired with this kind of clothing and sunglasses, was really special. Zenin's family? Oh, maybe, you can call me Lu Ming. Lu Ming briefly introduced himself. Then he walked directly to Itadori Yuji. Since he was already here, he was still somewhat interested in Ryomen Sukuna's fingers. He could already feel Lizzy approaching him, and today's main mission should have ended. I have disturbed the main line, so next, I should correct the main line. Lu Ming? Are you not from the Zenin family? The Lu family? Is there such a family in the Jujutsu world? Fushiguro Megumi always feels that this name has an exotic feel. It's okay, don't worry, I'm the only one in my family. Advertisement. Lu Ming shook his head and reached out to Itadori Yuji. Itadori, give me Sukuna's finger to look at. Facing Lu Ming's request, Itadori Yuji was stunned for a moment, and then without even a trace of hesitation, he directly handed Sukuna's finger to Lu Ming. This action was so straightforward that Fushiguro Megumi didn't even have a chance to say rejection. Itadori, you are too unwary. How can a special grade cursed object be handed over to a stranger? How do you know that this person is in the same camp as us? Close black lens bracket. Fushiguro Megumi complained inwardly, but could only continue to remain silent. After all, Lu Ming had just saved him. To be so suspicious of the other party was to feel a little sorry for Lu Ming's actions in saving him just now. Is this Sukuna's finger? The finger of the King of Curses. One finger has such a powerful power. If all 20 of them were together, it would be really scary to think about it. Lu Ming shook his head and threw his finger to Itadori. Lu Ming, what are 20 fingers? You don't include toes, right? Normal humans only have 10 fingers. Itadori Yuji always pays attention to some special details. Facing Itadori's correction, Lu Ming shook his head helplessly. Didn't you know? Sukuna has 4 arms. After speaking, Lu Ming gently pushed Itadori Yuji's chest, pushed him 5 meters away, and then jumped back. Neither Itadori nor Fushiguro realized the reason why Lu Ming made this move. However, the next second, the broken roof made them freeze again. A cursed spirit that was even bigger than the previous blue cursed spirit appeared. 3% Chapter 8 The Quasi-Special Cursed Spirit is coming. Previous chapter next chapter advertisement. Sure enough, a new cursed spirit appeared. Is it because of his own appearance or because of Lizzy's influence? This Sukuna finger actually attracted a cursed spirit that was about to break through and become a special level. Close black lens bracket. You seem to think too highly of me, right? Without Rico, it would be very difficult for me to defeat the quasi-special cursed spirit. Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming shrugged helplessly and suddenly said to the air. Lizzy, you don't have to come back in a hurry. Let's explore a little more and find out whether this quasi-special grade cursed spirit was released by that man. Moreover, it's just a quasi-special grade cursed spirit. Lu Ming had some doubts in his heart. Such a cursed spirit should not appear quietly in the school. In the current timeline, the only one who can do this is the brainy version of Yuta who masters the cursed spirit technique. Is Kensuo really nearby? Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming didn't know if such a possibility was possible, but at the moment, he needed to focus more on the quasi-special cursed spirit in front of him. Lizzy, Itadori and Fushiguro didn't know who Lu Ming was talking to, but judging from Lu Ming's tone and address, it should be with a woman. Could it be that the man named Lu Ming in front of him has another Jujutsu master companion? It's just a quasi-special grade cursed spirit, that's it? When faced with a special grade cursed spirit, is Lu Ming so confident in exercising it? Fushiguro Megumi has some expectations for Lu Ming. After all, the person in front of him is really mysterious. Maybe he really has some trump card to deal with this quasi-special cursed spirit. However, Lu Ming's subsequent performance completely disappointed Fushiguro Megumi. Advertisement. Lu Ming actually simply commanded the Jade dog to attack this quasi-special grade cursed spirit, just like he faced the giant cursed spirit before. This is a quasi-special grade cursed spirit. With 2 Jade dogs that were even weaker than his own pair, how could they defeat this quasi-special one? He really didn't know where Lu Ming's self-confidence came from. As this quasi-special grade cursed spirit destroyed the building, Lu Ming and his party moved to a more open rooftop. Lu Ming, do you know other shadow spells? Seeing the 4 Jade dogs being defeated by this quasi-special, Fushiguro Megumi's face was also full of anxiety. If Lu Ming didn't use his trump card, they might really die in the hands of this quasi-special cursed spirit. Moreover, what made him feel most anxious was that he felt an extremely powerful cursed spirit lingering around him. Although it was still far away from them, he could foresee that the target of the powerful cursed spirit was also here. Apart from spying on Sukuna's fingers, he couldn't think of any other purpose for spying on the cursed spirit here. The quasi-special grade cursed spirit in front of me is already so powerful, and the existence that is more powerful may already have the strength of the special grade cursed spirit. We must fight quickly. If the battle is not resolved before the arrival of the special cursed spirit, then everything may be too late. Close black lens bracket. What is going on in this mission? Gojo sensei, should a Jujutsu master of my level do a task of this level? Close black lens bracket. Fushiguro Megumi complained inwardly, and then concentrated all his energy on the quasi-special cursed spirit in front of him. On the other side, Lu Ming had a calm face, with no trace of anxiety at all. Facing Fushiguro Megumi's question, he responded calmly. I don't know other shadow spells. Lu Ming's words immediately broke Fushiguro Megumi's current state. Then what gives you the confidence to defeat this cursed spirit? Advertisement. Fushiguro Megumi's entire face is covered with black lines. Huh? Do I need to defeat this cursed spirit? No, right? If you're confident, it's you and Itadori Yuji. Lu Ming put his hands in his hands and sat leisurely aside. As he said, this quasi-special grade cursed spirit should not be a problem for Itadori and Fushiguro. After all, in the worst case, Sukuna's finger would be the cover. Itadori was F***ed by Sukuna. All this is just a return to the main plot. Before, he would take action, but it was just an accident. Hearing Lu Ming's words, Fushiguro Megumi suddenly became a little nervous. Are he and Itadori the trump cards? After all, he is still a Jujutsu master, but what about Itadori? Itadori is just an ordinary human being. How can he be used as a trump card to defeat the quasi-special cursed spirit? He just felt that something was wrong with Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming, isn't your companion nearby? Hurry up and ask her to come over. I noticed that there is a special cursed spirit wandering around. Please hurry up and remind her to prevent her from being in danger. Fushiguro Megumi gave Lu Ming a reminder. He thought that if Lu Ming's companions came over, they would be able to avoid the danger of encountering the special cursed spirit, and could help them defeat this quasi-special. There is strength in numbers, and it shouldn't be difficult for the 3 Jujutsu divisions to work together to deal with this quasi-special cursed spirit. Although he hasn't met the person named Lizzy yet, Fushiguro has already regarded this Lizzy as another Jujutsu master. However, what surprised Fushiguro Megumi was that a playful smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. Lizzy? Oh, don't worry about her. Furthermore, Fushiguro, what exactly gave you the illusion that I will definitely help you? Lu Ming's voice was very cold. Advertisement. Fushiguro Megumi's heart skipped a beat, and she finally came to her senses. Yes, the stranger in front of him must have his own purpose when he appears here. However, before he had time to think about Lu Ming's position, Itadori Yuji's anxious voice suddenly came. If you two continue talking, these 4 Jade dogs will be beaten to death. Fushiguro Megumi suddenly woke up. He could not dwell on Lu Ming's purpose now. If Lu Ming was unwilling to take action, then he would have to fight hard. In the center of the battlefield, Lu Ming's 2 Jade dogs had been injured and left the battlefield. Fushiguro Megumi's 2 Jade dogs were struggling to support the attack of the quasi-special grade cursed spirit, and their bodies were also covered with scars. No more. A cold light flashed in Fushiguro Megumi's eyes, and then he put his hands together to make a bird-like hand shadow. He had to summon a second Shikigami. New. As Fushiguro Megumi's voice fell, a huge owl appeared out of thin air and began to assist the Jade dog in its attack. Wow, what a big bird! Yo, this bird is so big. Itadori Yuji and Lu Ming sighed at the same time. Regardless of Nu's strength, the scene when he appears looks very impressive. With Nu's appearance, the whole situation seemed to be under control. However, Fushiguro Megumi and his 2 Jade dogs are still struggling to support him. After all, Nu is not an attacking Shikigami and can only provide harassment support in the air. Chapter 9 Hound Dog? Seems good to previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. There were 5 people on the entire rooftop. Sasaki and Iguchi are unconscious and are just burdens. Itadori Yuji hesitated, not knowing how to help Fushiguro Megumi. Lu Ming was leisurely, just watching from the sidelines, with no intention of taking action at all. Therefore, in the center of the battlefield, only Fushiguro Megumi was left struggling to deal with the quasi-special grade cursed spirit. Lu Ming, why don't you help Fu Hei? Seeing Lu Ming in this state, Itadori Yuji felt that it was inappropriate, so he tried to persuade him. Oh, should I help Fushiguro Megumi? Yuji, are you trying to make people's deaths right? The corners of Lu Ming's mouth raised slightly. Then, dying at the hands of curse is the correct way for a Jujutsu master to die. Lu Ming's response left Itadori Yuji with no reason to refute. He felt that this theory was not valid, but as he was coming into contact with cursed spirit for the first time, he did not understand the entire Jujutsu world. Seeing Itadori Yuji speechless, Lu Ming smiled and whispered, Nu. Then, his shadow automatically made a bird-like hand shadow, and the Shikigami, Nu, was successfully subdued by it. Seeing this scene, Lu Ming nodded thoughtfully. Sure enough, as I guessed, without talent, I only have 10 shadow spell qualifications. However, I still need to imitate others to master the use of shadow spells. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. This is a bit embarrassing. I originally thought that having 10 kinds of shadow spells would be something even Sukuna would be jealous of. Unexpectedly, this technique has such limitations. Close black lens bracket. Then for the suspected red blood manipulation technique in my body and the pair of 6 eyes, do I have to find the corresponding owner in order to learn the corresponding ability? Close black lens bracket. It's so troublesome. Lizzy is the most straightforward. Sure enough, the god of pure love and war is the real god. Close black lens bracket. Let's wait and see what the status of the 9 cursed fetus is now. I have always been able to feel them, but I don't know where they are now, which is a bit embarrassing. Close black lens bracket. It may take some time to truly master and display the power of the ancestral techniques of these 3 major families. Close black lens bracket. It seems that for some time in the future, we will still have to rely on the guardian cursed spirit Lizzy and the 9-phase diagram cursed spirit operation to fight. Lu Ming stroked the Shikigami Nu he had summoned, thinking a lot in his mind for a moment. The Nu he summoned was still slightly smaller than the Nu summoned by Fushiguro Megumi. However, Nu looks cuter this way, and when played with, she looks more like a pet. Seeing that Lu Ming only cares about playing with birds and is unwilling to support the battle, Itadori Yuji looked a little angry. Fushiguro Megumi was in danger at this time, and he couldn't wait any longer. Since Lu Ming is unwilling to take action, he must follow his own ideas and help Fushiguro Megumi. You are very powerful. When you save others, just do what you can, and try to save those who can. It doesn't matter if you are confused, and don't mind if you don't get thanked. In short, if you work hard, there will be more people. Yūta dies surrounded by people. Grandpa's words came to mind in Itadori's mind. I want to die surrounded by people. After Itadori Yuji saw the white jade dog that was struggling to support being torn apart by the special cursed spirit, Fushiguro Megumi was completely in crisis. He couldn't control his body and rushed forward. With one punch, the quasi-special cursed spirit was directly knocked over by its physical attack. Advertisement. He is worthy of being the first person to conquer demons physically. Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming chuckled. This was the brother Huzi in his heart. Didn't I tell you to run away quickly? Fushiguro Megumi growled, not expecting that Itadori Yuji was still here. How can I leave you alone to face such a monster? Itadori Yuji relied on his strong body to constantly dodge cursed spirits' counterattacks, holding Sukuna's fingers to attract firepower for Fushiguro Megumi. Fushiguro Megumi's eyes flashed with emotion, but then became firm again. Really stupid. Fushiguro Megumi murmured to himself. He felt that the special cursed spirit was getting closer, and he had to speed up the exorcism process. I saw Fushiguro Megumi making the jade dog gesture again. The next second, the remains of the white jade dog suddenly merged into the black jade dog. Muddy. The black jade dog instantly transformed into a giant wolf dog that was completely black, with only its mouth and limbs white. The entire Hun dog looks extremely ferocious and very powerful. This is the characteristic of the jade dog. When one jade dog Shikigami is destroyed, the other will inherit the ability of the destroyed one and transform into a hound dog. The strength will also be greatly improved compared to before. It's a pity that Hun dog can't show up on its own initiative, and it has to have such harsh restrictions. Whether you can summon a Hun dog depends entirely on your opponent. After all, if you can kill an enemy with one jade dog, it shouldn't be difficult to kill two jade dogs at the same time. Advertisement. Fushiguro Megumi would not be willing to use Shikigami for such an experiment. After all, after the death of every Shikigami, he would be lost forever. If possible, he hoped to never summon Hound dog. With the appearance of Hun dog, the entire battle situation changed. Hun dog and Nu, day by day, began to gain the upper hand in the battle with the quasi-special level cursed spirit. It seems that the fate of this quasi-special grade cursed spirit has been decided. However, all this was ignored by Lu Ming, because he found that he had learned something new. He had just summoned the jade dog again, and after completing the fusion of the black and white jade dog, he also summoned the Hun dog. What makes him more flexible than Fushiguro Megumi is that his two jade dogs can fuse and decompose independently under his control. When he needs it, he can turn the two jade dogs into Hun dogs for fighting. When he doesn't need them, he can also make the Hun dogs split into two jade dogs, black and white, for reconnaissance. Seeing this scene in Fushiguro Megumi's eyes, he was completely shocked. Lu Ming clearly said that he did not know other shadow spells, but now Nu, Jade Dog, and Hun Dog have all been summoned by him. Moreover, being able to control Hun Dog at will, shadow magic seems to be even more slippery than himself. Who is this Lu Ming? What on earth does he want to do here? At this moment, Lu Ming has become a potential target of prevention in Fushiguro Megumi's mind. After all, Lu Ming's behavior was too weird. Damn it, there is a quasi-special grade cursed spirit in front of me. There's a special cursed spirit wandering nearby. There is an unknown person with strange behavior next to him, close black lens bracket. Teacher Gojo, I really don't know which path the future will take, close black lens bracket. Chapter 10. Lizzy, you are here. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Fushiguro Megumi planned to deal with this quasi-special grade cursed spirit first, and then wait and see what happens. However, at this moment, he felt that the aura of the quasi-special grade cursed spirit in front of him had changed once again. Surrounded by a black mist, the cursed spirit in front of him began to become smaller and more concentrated. However, the whole person conveyed a more terrifying power. Hey, Itadori, Fushiguro, this cursed spirit broke through under the influence of Sukuna's finger. Now, it's a special grade cursed spirit. The suspected six eyes behind Lu Ming's sunglasses analyzed the changes in the cursed spirit in front of him and the feedback from his eyes. This was an unexpected surprise for Lu Ming. The information conveyed by the eyes allowed Lu Ming to confirm that his eyes were indeed the six eyes. However, it may be like the shadow spell, which is not complete enough. It is not like Gojo Satoru's pair of six eyes, which can achieve 360-degree vision and quickly analyze enemy spells. But this is enough for Lu Ming. Out of joy, Lu Ming gave Fushiguro Megumi related tips. Fushiguro Megumi's expression suddenly changed at this news. Special grade cursed spirit? The one in front of me has become a special grade, and there is another special grade around? This means that he may face two special level cursed spirits next? feeling that the wandering special grade cursed spirit is getting closer and closer. Fushiguro Megumi felt that he was almost in a desperate situation. Lu Ming, under what conditions can I ask you to take action? Fushiguro Megumi didn't want the mission to fail, nor did he want people like Itadori to die at the hands of the special cursed spirit. Therefore, he could only seek help from those around him. He knew that Lu Ming must have a trump card. The appearance of Nu and Hun Quan had already made him realize that something was wrong with Lu Ming's identity. Now, the only one who can change the situation is Lu Ming, who has been looking calm next to him. Hearing this, Lu Ming raised his eyebrows slightly, glanced at Fushiguro Megumi, and a playful smile appeared on his face again. Fushiguro, you don't actually need my help. Itadori can handle this special one after swallowing his finger. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. However, Fushiguro-san has made a request. Is it not good if I don't take action? Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. Being chaotic and neutral, he felt that it was no big deal to help a bunch of Fushiguro Megumi and Itadori now. After all, they are a group of future protagonists. I have temporarily shown some tendencies towards the lawful good camp. It seems that it should be able to make Gojo Satoru, who will appear next, feel more comfortable, right? The corners of Lu Ming's mouth rose slightly. Fushiguro-san, if you ask me to take action, you will have to pay for it. A flash of surprise flashed in Fushiguro Megumi's heart. What reward? As long as Lu Ming can get rid of this special cursed spirit, he is willing to pay any reward. After all, there is another special level cursed spirit to deal with next. Huh? I haven't thought about it yet. Let's do this, Fushiguro-san. Please promise me a condition in the future. Well, it won't violate your principles, and it's definitely within your capabilities. Lu Ming suddenly thought of the conversation between Sukuna and Itadori in the original work, which paved the way for Fushiguro Megumi's sexual intercourse in the Return of Death. At this moment, he also made a condition on a whim. Okay, I agree. Fushiguro Megumi thought for a moment and agreed to Lu Ming's request. Lu Ming, please take action. Hun Dog and Nu were struggling to fight the special cursed spirit. Itadori, who was holding Sukuna's finger to attract fire, was almost caught by this cursed spirit many times. The critical situation has made Fushiguro Megumi unable to hesitate. Okay. The contract is established. Lu Ming stood up, patted the dust on his butt, and waved his right hand. Hun Quan, Nu, come on. The next second, Lu Ming's Shikigami rushed forward to provide support to Fushiguro Megumi and Itadori. Why should I ask him for help? Advertisement. Fushiguro Megumi looked at Lu Ming's Hound and Nu, who were punched away by the special cursed spirit, and his heart was full of doubts about himself. Why do I think Lu Ming can defeat this special cursed spirit? Fushiguro Megumi knew that all this was because Lu Ming had been too calm from the beginning. However, now it seems that Lu Ming's thin Hun Quan and Nu can only barely play a role in restraining him, and are unable to complete the exorcism of the newly promoted special-level cursed spirit in front of him. The reason why he was so anxious to ask Lu Ming for help was mainly because the wandering special-grade cursed spirit was getting closer and closer. However, it seems that nothing has changed now. What the hell is this person in front of me? Since he's not that strong, why haven't he escaped yet? Couldn't he feel the presence of another special cursed spirit? Didn't you already remind him? Itadori didn't leave here because of himself. So what's the reason why Lu Ming doesn't leave? Does he also want to stay and become food for the two special cursed spirits? Fushiguro Megumi couldn't figure it out, but he had given up. He could only hope that Mr. Gojo could discover the abnormality here early and come here as soon as possible. He only hoped that Lu Ming would not be scared away when he saw another special grade cursed spirit, and could hold on with him for a while until Teacher Gojo arrived. The battle between Shikigami, Fushiguro Megumi, Itadori Yuji and this special cursed spirit has reached a stalemate. And another breaking point is slowly approaching. Fushiguro Megumi didn't know when Gojo Satoru would return, but he could clearly feel that the other wandering special grade cursed spirit had arrived. At this moment, Itadori, even though he had no magic power, felt the presence of another special grade cursed spirit. His face changed drastically as he kept flashing around. Seeing Sasaki and Aguchi-senpai lying beside him, and looking at the embarrassed and scarred Fushiguro Megumi, Itadori Yuji had a decision flash in his mind. Fushiguro, if you eat this cursed object, you can gain powerful curse power, right? Itadori Yuji seemed to be asking, but he already had the answer in his heart. Itadori, no. A flash of shock flashed in Fushiguro Megumi's eyes, and he guessed what Itadori Yuji wanted to do. That does not work. Absolutely not. Not to mention whether Itadori Yuji can withstand the power of Sukuna's fingers, even if he obtains the power. According to the rules of Jujutsu, being exposed to the flesh of a cursed object will be regarded as curse, and he will be exorcised by a Jujutsu master. However, at this time, Itadori Yuji couldn't listen to Fushiguro Megumi's words at all. Advertisement, he just didn't want Fushiguro Megumi to die here. Obviously all this was caused by picking up this Sukuna finger. The way Fushiguro Megumi died here is not right. He wants everything to go on the right path. As for what would happen if he ate Sukuna's finger, that was beyond his calculation. Seeing Itadori Yuji put Sukuna's fingers directly into his mouth without any hesitation, Fushiguro Megumi's heart was filled with despair. But at this moment, a voice sounded. "Hey, are you looking down on me? Fushiguro, I've already promised you, haven't I?" Lu Ming walked up to Itadori and slapped Itadori Yuji on the back, knocking out the Sukuna finger that Itadori Yuji was about to swallow. "Lu Ming, what do you want to do?" Itadori Yuji's eyes widened. He was planning to use this to rescue Fushiguro Megumi. Did Lu Ming do this to put Fushiguro Megumi to death? Fushiguro Megumi, who saw that Itadori did not swallow Sukuna's finger and resisted the special cursed spirit, just breathed a sigh of relief. However, the next second, he saw a huge and ferocious white cursed spirit head suddenly appeared on Itadori Yuji and Lu Ming's head, behind. This white cursed spirit head with a metallic luster carried strong pressure, and its aura was several times stronger than the cursed spirit he faced. Fushiguro Megumi was filled with despair. The two special grade cursed spirits finally met, and he really had no choice. Itadori, Lu Ming. Run quickly. This is the last thing Fushiguro Megumi can do for Itadori and Lu Ming. Because of this sentence, Fushiguro Megumi received another heavy punch from the special cursed spirit. A mouthful of old blood spurted out directly from its mouth. At this time, Itadori Yuji followed Fushiguro Megumi's gaze, turned his head subconsciously, and saw the head of another special grade cursed spirit. His whole body froze completely. Ruined, this thought came to Itadori Yuji's mind. He felt that tonight, he, Fushiguro Megumi and Lu Ming would all die here in an incorrect way. Lu Ming, why didn't you let him swallow Sukuna's finger just now? Maybe if he swallowed his finger, everyone would be saved? He can also die surrounded by people. When Fushiguro and Itadori both lost confidence and despaired, Lu Ming's laughter suddenly echoed in the air. Lizzy, you're here. 8% Chapter 11 Itadori, how does this finger taste? Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Lizi. Itadori Yuji and Fushiguro Megumi looked at Lu Ming subconsciously, and the next scene completely put them in a daze. At this time, Lu Ming actually gently stroked the head of the ferocious cursed spirit, with a smile on his face. What kind of picture is this? A handsome jujutsu master and a ferocious cursed spirit. Lu Ming called Lizi's name, but no one showed up. Could it be that Lizi is? Such a guess emerged in the hearts of Fushiguro Megumi and Itadori Yuji. The next second, their suspicions were confirmed. Lizzy, get rid of that guy, he's too noisy. Following the direction of Lu Ming's finger, the cursed spirit that was still attacking Fushiguro Megumi was broken into 5 pieces. Riko's figure appeared in front of Fushiguro Megumi, taking the place of the shattered cursed spirit. What a terrifying power! Close black lens bracket. Fushiguro Megumi was extremely shocked. He seemed to have seen this scene before. Looking at Riko's ferocious face, Fushiguro Megumi recalled the senior he admired most. Okkotsu Senpai's technique, Rika, seems to be in the same state. The cursed spirit named Riko in front of her is basically the same except that it looks different from Rika's. In other words, this special grade cursed spirit and Lu Ming are one and the same. She is also Lu Ming's technique. Fushiguro Megumi looked at Lu Ming with wide eyes, and the shock in his heart was almost numb. Advertisement. Who is Lu Ming? When he first saw the shadow magic, he thought Lu Ming was from the Zenin family. Now, Lu Ming has shown the same technique as senior Okkotsu Yūta. Could it be said that Lu Ming is also related to the Okkotsu family? He couldn't understand. As the special grade cursed spirit was destroyed by Lizi, except for Lizi's aura, other weak cursed spirits on the entire rooftop no longer dared to peek at Ryomen Sukuna's fingers. Wei, we have fought side by side now, can I just call you by your name? Lu Ming squinted his eyes and walked towards Ryomen Sukuna's finger, and at the same time, he liberated the Shikigami hound dog and knew. Don't forget the conditions you asked me to take action before. The moment Lu Ming spoke, Lizi turned around and looked at Fushiguro Megumi. Those two scarlet eyes gave Fushiguro Megumi a strong sense of oppression. Fushiguro Megumi swallowed and nodded. I know, and I will keep my promise. Hearing Fushiguro Megumi's answer, Lizi stopped looking at Fushiguro Megumi and moved behind Lu Ming. Oh my, if I hadn't arrived in time, Itadori might have been F***ed by Sukuna. Lu Ming pinched the severed Sukuna finger with his right thumb and index finger, his face full of disgust. The wet feeling stained by Itadori's saliva was really not good. Itadori, how does this finger taste? Lu Ming asked curiously. As the person who swallowed Sukuna's fingers the most in the original work, Itadori has the most say on this topic. Huh? The situation was too urgent just now, so I didn't pay much attention. Itadori quickly accepted the relationship between Lizzy and Lu Ming. He was quite nervous and did not understand why Lu Ming would pay attention to the taste of Sukuna's fingers at this time. Oh, I didn't taste it. It's okay, there is still a chance. After saying that, he walked towards Itadori Yuji with his finger. Advertisement. Seeing this scene, Fushiguro Megumi's expression changed. He seemed to realize something and shouted loudly. Lu Ming, Sukuna's fingers need to be sealed, you can't touch them casually. However, Lu Ming ignored him at all. Lu Ming. Fushiguro Megumi was about to stop him, but in the next second, he was suddenly shocked by Lizzy's aura and was suppressed to the ground. Wei, you are a little too noisy. Lu Ming shook his head, came to Itadori's side, and shook Sukuna's finger in front of him. Yuji, would you like to taste it again? I'm really curious. Lu Ming's behavior was very abnormal. Itadori Yuji ignored him at all. He just stared at Lu Ming and said loudly. Lu Ming, what did you do to Fushihei? I don't want to know what this finger tastes like. Itadori Yuji was not interested in Sukuna's finger. He had only thought of saving Fushiguro Megumi by swallowing Sukuna's finger because he had no other choice. Now that the monster cursed spirit has been eliminated, why'd I still want to eat this finger that looks so unpalatable? Itadori Yuji was not prepared to obey Lu Ming's request. However, the next second, he also lost control of his body and was crushed to the ground by Lizzy's momentum. Yuji, I'm not asking you to do this, I'm informing you. Lu Ming shook his head. He seemed to be too kind, which made Fushiguro and Itadori not afraid of him. Itadori must eat Sukuna's finger. This is Kenshi's arrangement and the source of the backward push of the entire incident. It is also Lu Ming's hope that he can follow the main line and find Kensuo. If Lu Ming wants to find Kensuo and break his contract with Kensuo, then he needs to let Itadori eat Sukuna's finger and let it be F***ked by Ryomen Sukuna. As for why Lu Ming interrupted Itadori's finger-sucking action, it was entirely because he wanted to fulfill his agreement with Fushiguro Megumi and let his glass kill the special cursed spirit. Advertisement. If Itadori Yuji swallowed his finger, then the battle just now would have nothing to do with him. And although in the original work, Itadori Yuji was able to quickly control the awakened Sukuna, no one knew whether Sukuna would change differently because of the existence of himself and Riko. Before Lizzy came to him, Lu Ming was not willing to risk his own safety. Itadori Yuji, who fell to the ground, barely raised his head, his eyes widened with horror. Lu Ming was obviously their fighting partner before, so why doesn't he look like a good person at all now? Lu Ming is also a jujutsu master, so he should know why Fushiguro Megumi didn't let him swallow Sukuna's finger just now. However, now that there is clearly no threat, what on earth do you want to do by letting yourself swallow Sukuna's finger? Could it be that the Lu Ming in front of him had some serious illness? On the other side, Fushiguro Megumi, who couldn't control his body, showed a trace of struggle in his eyes. As he expected, Lu Ming still came for Sukuna's finger. However, he's still puzzled. If what Lu Ming needed was a special grade cursed object called Sukuna's finger, why not just take it away? Why must Itadori Yuji eat his finger? At this moment, 3 words came to Fushiguro Megumi's mind: curse user? Could it be that the white-haired young man named Lu Ming in front of him is not a jujutsu master, but the evil curse user? His goal is to free King of Curses Ryomen Sukuna? But it shouldn't be. If that's the case, why did Lu Ming just save himself again? No one gave Fushiguro Megumi answers, and their doubts were all nonsense in Lu Ming's mind. He is not a righteous partner, nor is he a villain boss. He has been sleeping for 150 years. When he wakes up, everything has changed. He just wants to do things according to his own ideas. Is there anything wrong with him? Lu Ming looked at Itadori Yuji through his sunglasses. After being stared at by Itadori Yuji for a few seconds, he felt very unhappy. The tiger in front of him was indeed naive and had no idea what would happen next. Taste it. Feel it. Is it crunchy and crispy, and tastes like chicken? After Lu Ming finished speaking, he stuffed Sukuna's finger that had failed to swallow it into Itadori Yuji's mouth. Chapter 12. I want to see if King of Curses is a parallel import. Previous chapter advertisement. As Itadori Yuji swallowed his finger, a powerful spell suddenly burst out from his body. Itadori Yuji's right hand instantly became ferocious and twisted, and his fingers became as sharp as the swallowed Sukuna's fingers. As his right hand waved violently, countless sharp blades appeared without warning, as if they were about to cut Lu Ming in front of him into pieces in the next second. Are you going to chop me in half when you come up? I'm not Gojo Satoru. Close black lens bracket. Although Lu Ming felt helpless, he was not afraid of Sukuna at this time. The moment Itadori Yuji launched the attack, Lizzy had already stretched out her arm to block Lu Ming. Ryomen Sukuna's slash that could have cut into pieces the powerful cursed spirit was directly blocked by Riko without causing any damage. Ha ha! Suddenly a burst of crazy laughter spread through the empty rooftop to the entire campus. Really? You still have to experience the moonlight yourself, that's the most exciting thing. Fushiguro Megumi looked at the naked Ryomen Sukuna and the out-of-control Itadori Yuji, with cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. The worst has happened. The special grade cursed object has become parasitic on Itadori's body, and Sukuna's fingers have been fertilized. Fushiguro Megumi wants to rescue Itadori, but even though Ryomen Sukuna appears, Riko's pressure is still suppressing him. What on earth was Lu Ming thinking? Since he knew how powerful Ryomen Sukuna was, why did he release Ryomen Sukuna? Could it be said that the King of Curses, who has been sleeping for so many years, will listen to the curse user? Advertisement, didn't he just see that Sukuna attacked him as soon as he woke up? Although the special cursed spirit Riko blocked this attack, it also indicates that Ryomen Sukuna is not easy to communicate with. Fushiguro Megumi only felt that everything must have exceeded Lu Ming's expectations. As a curse user, Lu Ming probably underestimated Ryomen Sukuna's madness. Fushiguro Megumi looked at Ryomen Sukuna nervously. He wanted to know what Sukuna wanted to do, and what kind of changes had happened to Itadori Yuji now. Ryomen Sukuna controlled Itadori Yuji's body, and at the same time, a second pair of eyes appeared on Itadori's face. Ryomen Sukuna smiled happily and jumped onto the railing beside the rooftop. Kid, the woman is there, the meat of cursed spirit is too boring. Looking at the brightly lit city in the distance, the smile on Ryomen Sukuna's face became even brighter. This is a good time, women and children are crawling everywhere like maggots, it's wonderful. You can go on a killing spree and kill everything. Ha 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 ha. Listening to Sukuna's declaration of killing, Fushiguro Megumi's heart was filled with despair, because he knew that this was Sukuna's true inner thought, and he also knew that Sukuna had the ability to realize this declaration. Having said this, it means that Itadori Yuji's consciousness has really been occupied by Ryomen Sukuna. The other listener, Lu Ming, jumped onto the railing like Ryomen Sukuna. Facing the evening breeze, looking at the same scene he saw after waking up yesterday, looking at the identical lights of thousands of houses, Lu Ming's expression was full of helplessness. You have also woken up from a long sleep. Why can't you feel the beauty of this world? Advertisement, sure enough, you are the villain. Compared with you, I should still be in the camp of justice. Lu Ming's casual remarks made Ryomen Sukuna smile contemptuously. You lowly scum, you didn't choose to run away after seeing the uncle appear? Instead, did you dare to approach the uncle? Jujutsu masters of this era seem really arrogant. Ryomen Sukuna stared at Lu Ming with 4 eyes, and a trace of greed suddenly appeared in his eyes. He felt the extraordinary technique on Lu Ming's body. Zenon's 10 shadow spells. Hey, you made the wrong idea. Under Lu Ming's 6 eyes, Ryomen Sukuna's subtle movements and expressions are invisible. He knew that Sukuna felt the shadow magic in his body, and also realized that he coveted his body. Here, look at the one next to you. That should be your real target. Lu Ming pursed his lips at Fushiguro Megumi, who was unable to move. Subconsciously following Lu Ming's direction, Ryomen Sukuna saw Fushiguro Megumi. After feeling that Fushiguro Megumi also had 10 shadow magic spells in his body, his 4 eyes revealed a hint of shock. These two people actually have 10 shadow magic spells. Is this era so crazy? Or am I just too lucky? Just woke up, there are 2 such good bodies to choose from. Close black lens bracket. Ryomen Sukuna was ecstatic. The 10 shadow spells in Fushiguro Megumi and Lu Ming's bodies were the most suitable objects for him. The white-haired young man in front of him also has a special cursed spirit guarding him. It may take some time to capture his body. Therefore, Ryomen Sukuna directly targeted Fushiguro Megumi on the side. He planned to directly plunder Fushiguro Megumi's body and plunder these 10 powerful shadow magic spells. Observing Ryomen Sukuna's next plan through 6 eyes, a playful smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. Although he is not a good person, Fushiguro, as the person who signed a contract with him, cannot let Sukuna take over easily. Moreover, Ryomen Sukuna showed his malice towards Fushiguro Megumi. The original owner of this body, Tarako, would not accept this kind of thing, right? Advertisement the next second was just as Lu Ming expected. Ryomen Sukuna's expression suddenly became dull, and then, the right hand of the body suddenly strangled his neck, and he jumped down from the railing unnaturally, and began to talk to himself inexplicably. What are you doing with someone else's body? Give it back to me. Hearing these words come out of his own mouth, Sukuna's eyes widened instantly. Why can you move? Such a change gave Fushiguro Megumi a glimmer of hope. He heard that it was Itadori Yuji who had just spoken, which meant that Itadori Yuji's consciousness was not swallowed by Ryomen Sukuna. "This is my body." Itadori Yuji's plain voice sounded again. Ryomen Sukuna was very surprised. How could this container still have consciousness, be able to resist his own will, and even suppress himself? What kind of monster is this body? Ryomen Sukuna found that after he woke up, everything seemed not as he imagined. Seeing that the other pair of eyes growing on both sides of Itadori's glasses were about to slowly close, Lu Ming also knew that in the battle for control of this body, Itadori Yuji had already gained the upper hand. In the next second, Itadori should be able to completely control its own body. However, this is not what Lu Ming wants to see. He asked Itadori to swallow Sukuna's finger, firstly to bring everything back to the main line. Second, I want to measure my own strength. In the original work, various people would use Sukuna's fingers to measure someone's strength. Lu Ming now wants to know who is more powerful compared to Sukuna's finger strength and Lizzy. If he and Lizzy couldn't defeat Sukuna with even one finger's strength, then he wouldn't have to go out of his way to find Kansuo. Anyway, even if you find it, you won't be able to defeat it, so why not just enjoy peace and happiness in this world? Yuji, let Sukuna come out. I want to see if this king of curses from thousands of years ago is a parallel import. Chapter 13 Sukuna, welcome to the new era. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Lu Ming's request stunned Itadori and Fushiguro. Don't Lu Ming know the horror of Ryomen Sukuna's power? Close black lens bracket. Fushiguro Megumi became more and more confused about Lu Ming's thoughts. Itadori Yuji, on the other hand, refused directly. After all, the person in front of him was no longer in the same camp in his mind. Lu Ming had been classified as a villain by Itadori Yuji. Yuji, I didn't discuss it with you. The corner of Lu Ming's mouth raised slightly, and Lizi's pressure suddenly strengthened. Fushiguro Megumi, who could still kneel on the ground, simply dropped to the ground. If you don't meet my needs, then I will be as cruel as Sukuna. I want to be a good person, Yuji, give me a chance. Lu Ming's voice was full of confusion. Although he said he wanted to be a good person in his words, his threatening actions with Fushiguro Megumi were full of bad connotations. Lu Ming let go of Fushihei, because he had felt Riko's pressure. Itadori knew how uncomfortable it felt. Oh, Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. Then are you willing to let Sukuna come out and let me see it? Itadori Yuji's eyes were full of anger, and he gritted his teeth and whispered. Let go of Fushiguro and I promise you. Lu Ming curled his lips, his face full of helplessness. Itadori Yuji, you are not qualified to bargain with me, but because we are so similar, I agree. In Lu Ming's opinion, Brother Huzi was still too reckless. Don't you know that with your current strength, you can crush him to death at any time? Still bargaining with yourself? Could it be that Brother Huzi has seen through his chaotic and neutral camp position and knows that he will not kill at will? Forget it, just give Kensha's work some face. Advertisement. After all, everyone is a victim of mental illness. Lu Ming waved his hand, and Lizzy instantly released the suppression of Fushiguro Megumi. Fushiguro Megumi, who had been in close contact with the ground, finally regained control of his body. Seeing Fushiguro Megumi stand up, Itadori Yuji breathed a sigh of relief. Since Lu Ming abides by the agreement, he will naturally not break the contract. Although Lu Ming's series of actions were very strange and unreasonable, Itadori Yuji still keenly sensed that Lu Ming's position was on their side. Moreover, if Lu Ming had not taken action before, he and Fushiguro Megumi would have died long ago. I'm going to let him out. Be careful, Lu Ming, he is very strong. Even if Lu Ming did this to him, Itadori still expressed his concern and worry for Lu Ming. Seeing Huzi starting to doze off, and hearing Huzi's concern, Lu Ming also felt a trace of emotion in his heart. Brother Huzi, in terms of kindness, you are the one who is the best. Close black lens bracket. Okay. Sleep peacefully. Ryomen Sukuna is very strong, I should be stronger, probably. Lu Ming gave Itadori a definite reply in an uncertain tone. Faced with this unreliable answer, Itadori Yuji actually found it very credible. Staring into Lu Ming's eyes behind his sunglasses, Itadori transferred control of his body to Sukuna, and his originally peaceful face became violent once again. The strongest substitute Ryomen Sukuna is online again. I didn't expect you to dare to speak so brazenly. You should be stronger, kid, go to hell. Ryomen Sukuna controlled Itadori Yuji's body and looked directly at Lu Ming. Just now, in Itadori Yuji's body, he was watching everything outside. He could see through that Lu Ming was not very strong, but the only thing that made him a little afraid was the white guardian cursed spirit behind Lu Ming. Therefore, Sukuna knew that his current opponent was the cursed spirit Lizzy behind Lu Ming. Because Itadori Yuji was able to control this body, Ryomen Sukuna did not think of killing Lu Ming directly. he also wanted to see what kind of powerful power the special cursed spirit of this era had. Ryomen Sukuna's 4 eyes narrowed slightly at the same time, and he disappeared in an instant, and at the same time, he appeared in front of Lu Ming. He directly launched an attack on Lu Ming's body, because he knew that the first priority in guarding the cursed spirit was not to attack, but to protect. Therefore, in order to arouse the strongest desire to fight to protect the cursed spirit, one can only attack the things they want to protect the most. And the Lu Ming in front of him was the switch that stimulated Lizi's desire to fight. Advertisement: Ryomen Sukuna's body is almost twisted. Probably only Itadori Yuji's body in the world can support Sukuna to perform such difficult movements. I saw Sukuna's right fist slamming into Lu Ming's face. Lu Ming stood there, unable to react at all. The next second, he seemed to be beaten to death by Sukuna's fist. Boom! The air behind Lu Ming fluctuated, smoke and dust suddenly rose in all directions, and the deafening sound of air bursting continued to escape in all directions. Sukuna's blow was very powerful, but unfortunately, Lu Ming was not injured, and his body and expression did not even change. Lu Ming just stood there. Ryomen Sukuna's fist struck Lizi's arm. Lizzy acted like a mother protecting her child, hugging Lu Ming from behind. The arms that crossed her arms to hug Lu Ming formed the strongest shield. So fast! When did this cursed spirit make this move? My eyes couldn't catch it at all. Fushiguro Megumi stared blankly at the fight between Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji. He was not paying attention and was almost knocked over by the airwaves from the battle between the two. What on earth is Lu Ming thinking? This is Ryomen Sukuna after all. Even if Lu Ming is protected by the special cursed spirit, if Lu Ming's own strength is not strong enough, Ryomen Sukuna will eventually catch him. Fushiguro Megumi's expression was a little nervous. Although Lu Ming's previous actions against him were really unfriendly, he still felt worried for Lu Ming. Curse user is also a human being, but Sukuna is the king of curses. However, as the smoke dissipated, revealing Lu Ming's figure still standing there, he realized that his worries seemed to be a bit unnecessary. Lu Ming's face showed two expressions of calmness and joking at the same time, and he looked at Ryomen Sukuna through the gap in Lizzie's blocking arm. The patterns on your face are a bit ugly. You haven't put on clothes yet, which is risque. No matter how you look, Itadori Yuji is more pleasing to the eye. When Lu Ming finished speaking, Lizzy had already made a fist move with him, and the fist filled with magical power directly coaxed Ryomen Sukuna. At this moment, Lizzy was not fighting according to Lu Ming's instructions. Instead, Lu Ming merged the threads that controlled the other 9 Cursed Fetuses and fastened 10 threads to Lizzy's body. In this way, Lizzy was like Lu Ming's external armor, able to directly connect with Lu Ming, and then be able to follow Lu Ming's movements and make exactly the same movements. What Lu Ming just did was to bombard Sukuna, and almost at the same time, Lizzy's right fist also bombarded out. Seeing the pressure of Lizzy's punch, Sukuna's face also showed a hint of excitement, but then, he felt a sharp pain in his arms. He failed to dodge and met Lizzy's heavy punch. So strong! Sukuna faced Lizzy's heavy punch and was directly knocked away. He crashed through several floors and fell directly to the bottom. This special grade cursed spirit can be considered the strongest among cursed spirits in my era. Advertisement: I didn't expect that this kind of cursed spirit could still be born in this unknown era. I'm so excited. Sukuna controlled Itadori's body and slowly stood up. His face was filled with the excitement of fighting Lizzy, but then, a hint of disgust appeared on his face. Such a powerful cursed spirit has become the guardian cursed spirit of a jujutsu master. How boring. Why don't you let me relieve you like this? Sukuna made this decision in his heart, but he seemed to have overestimated the one finger, and also underestimated Lu Ming, who had now completed the harmonization with Lizzy. Come on, Sukuna, show me the power of the King of Curses. Lu Ming jumped directly from the 4th floor and hit Sukuna hard. The two of them had almost no time to think before they collided violently, and the explosive sound caused by the strong impact continued to echo in the air. Sukuna counterattacked in time, but this time, it still failed. Lizzy's protection was impeccable. However, this time Lizzy did not make a protective move, but only used magic power to resist. An excited expression appeared on Lu Ming's face, and he knocked Sukuna away again with his backhand. Ryomen Sukuna stood up from the rubble and looked at Lu Ming, his 4 eyes filled with confusion. With your reaction speed, you can completely control that cursed spirit to make defensive actions? Why did you just use the power of that cursed spirit to resist it? He felt that Lu Ming was too strange. His fighting, thinking, and speaking methods were all very strange. Lu Ming smiled slightly, raised his right hand, and touched Lizzy's face. I want to use you to test the strength of Lizzy's spell. Besides, defense and stuff, don't you think it affects your mood too much? Only the ultimate attack can bring the ultimate madness. Lu Ming laughed loudly, and his legs instantly exerted force. Under the synchronic effect of Lizzy, a huge impact force exploded. Lu Ming kicked out fine spider web cracks on the ground. Then, its figure flashed directly to Ryomen Sukuna and smashed it away again. Sukuna, welcome to the new era. This time, let me give a welcome speech on behalf of the world. After all, I am more recent and I woke up earlier, right? In this way, with the support of the 9 cursed embryo power, Lu Ming achieved a crushing power over Sukuna. Chapter 14 Instinct San. Famous scene, King and Mount. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Ryomen Sukuna, who only had the strength of one finger, had no power to fight back in front of Riko. As the king of curses, when did Ryomen Sukuna suffer from this kind of anger? However, just when he was about to fight back again, Lu Ming twitched the corner of his mouth, suddenly chuckled, and asked, Sukuna, do you know the difference between a king and a mount? Sukuna frowned. He didn't understand what Lu Ming was talking about. What kind of king? What mount? Is it the kind of thing he imagined? During the battle, why would Lu Ming ask such nonsense? Lu Ming continued to ask. I'm not talking about man and horse, or two-legged versus four-legged kitty guessing games. If the postures and abilities are the same, and two people still have the same body, and they are two interdependent beings, which one will become the king and dominate the battle? Which one will be left as a mount to increase combat power? What I'm asking is what's the difference? Lu Ming's questions continued, but Sukuna realized that what Lu Ming was talking about was his current relationship with Itadori. What exactly is the difference? Close black lens bracket. Sukuna was unable to give Lu Ming an answer for the moment. He and Itadori Yuji are currently bound to each other. He is stronger, but Itadori Yuji has more control over this body. Who is the king? Who is the mount? Obviously, the stronger one should be the king, right? However, he knew that Lu Ming definitely didn't see it that way, otherwise, he wouldn't have asked this question. Advertisement. Ryomen Sukuna stared at Lu Ming, waiting for Lu Ming's answer. And Lu Ming didn't let Sukuna wait long, and said directly with a smile. There is only one answer, and that is instinct. People who have the same body, what they need to exert greater power, what they need to become a king. It is the pursuit of fighting, the pursuit of power, and the ruthless destruction of the enemy. The absolute desire for battle is engraved deep in your bones and on the most primitive foundation. The killing reaction is honed to perfection. Itadori Yuji, you don't have this. Such a naked instinct. Yuji, you rely on reason to fight and want everything to go on the right path. Reason wants to defeat the enemy, just like a sword with a scabbard on the tip. Who else wants to chop down? That's why you're weaker than Sukuna, Itadori Yuji. After Lu Ming finished speaking, the surroundings fell into a deathly silence. But then, a fierce heart-beating sound sounded in Itadori Yuji's body. Itadori Yuji, who was sleeping in his body, heard Lu Ming's words. Feeling Itadori's body's reaction, Lu Ming nodded with satisfaction. He wanted to transform Zi from the beginning. In the entire original work, Zi is too emotional, often too self-pitying, and too fond of blaming himself. Itadori Yuji is very strong. As the most perfect work of Kenzo, and as the container carefully selected by Kenzo for Sukuna, there is no doubt about the strength of Itadori Yuji. However, in the original work, he basically did not exert his power. The occasional highlight moments are basically accompanied by the appearance of Sukuna. Advertisement. Is this Itadori Yuji? Lu Ming didn't believe it. He knows that Itadori Yuji can be stronger. Even without Ryomen Sukuna, he would still be remembered in the Jujutsu world. Many people only remember Itadori as Sukuna's container, but Itadori Yuji, he is Itadori Yuji. Under the influence of Lu Ming's brain-burning theories, Sukuna felt that this body was about to lose control. He no longer wanted to fight Lu Ming with Itadori's body. I saw him forming seals with his hands, preparing to release the domain directly. He was going to use the effect of domain demon subduing chef to instantly kill Lu Ming and the special cursed spirit behind him. Halfway through his words, Sukuna stopped because he felt another powerful aura. At some point, another young man with white hair and an eye patch appeared next to Fushiguro Megumi. This person is very strong, even stronger than the Lu Ming in front of him. At this time, Sukuna had already somewhat understood the current situation under Lizi's beating. He believes that after domain expansion, Lu Ming and his special cursed spirit will be crushed by him. However, if Lu Ming joins forces with this stranger who has just arrived, then the chance of him being exorcised will be extremely high. Big. Lu Ming. Good luck to you. Ryomen Sukuna's violent expression slowly disappeared, his whole person began to become calm, and the eyes on both sides of his face slowly close. Seeing this scene, Lu Ming realized that Itadori Yuji was back, and instantly felt a lot less interesting. And he also realized that all this happened precisely because of the arrival of another person. In this current era, Gojo Satoru, who is the only one in the world, appears. Time goes back 3 minutes. Advertisement Gojo Satoru came to Fushiguro Megumi's side quietly, putting his hands in his pockets, exuding a relaxed atmosphere, and holding the sweets he was going to eat later. Oh, Sukuna seems to have been released. What's the progress now? Gojo Satoru looked at the embarrassed Fushiguro Megumi, smiled, took out his phone, and kept taking pictures. Fushiguro Megumi likes to pretend to be mature. He has never seen such embarrassing photos before. He must collect the dark history of the cute student and share it with other classmates in the high school. Teacher Gojo, when did you come? Ah, you are finally here. Hearing Gojo Satoru's voice, Fushiguro Megumi noticed Gojo Satoru's appearance. His body, which had been tense, could finally relax at this moment. This night, the pressure he was under was too great. Now that Gojo Satoru appears, he finally doesn't have to think anymore. He wouldn't think that anyone could give Gojo Satoru a hard time, not in this world. Teacher, this time during the cursed object recovery process, we encountered a special grade cursed spirit. However, at the critical moment, we were rescued by another special grade cursed spirit controlled by this jujutsu master named Lu Ming. Gojo Satoru rubbed his chin and looked at Lu Ming, who was controlling Lizzy during the battle, with some curiosity in his heart. Lu Ming. This sounds like a Chinese name. And he also has the same guardian cursed spirit as Rika. The young man in front of him looks very similar to Yūta. Close black lens bracket. But in terms of control over cursed spirit, he is much better than Yūta at the beginning. It's really fun that such a mysterious person appears here out of thin air. Close black lens bracket. The corners of Gojo Satoru's mouth raised slightly, and he actually had a little bit of expectation for Lu Ming in his heart. Fushiguro Megumi continued to explain. It does sound like a Chinese name, but I suspect that Lu Ming may be from the Zenin family. After all, he can also use shadow magic, and it seems that the method of using shadow magic is more advanced than mine. Fushiguro Megumi described Lu Ming's ability to freely fuse the white and black Jade dog to form the Hun dog, which made the corners of Gojo Satoru's mouth raise even more. Suspected to be a bloodline of the Zenin family, or a user of the shadow magic technique. It seems more interesting. Chapter 15 Personal Affair? What about this Lu Ming? Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Gojo Satoru's gaze towards the center of the battle has completely focused on Lu Ming. If Fushiguro Megumi hadn't pointed it out, his 6 eyes really hadn't been able to analyze Lu Ming's technique. Guard Cursed Spirit plus 10 shadow spells. This Lu Ming's talent is quite good, and he can crush Sukuna at this age. Although Sukuna currently only has the strength of 1 finger, he is still the top being among the special cursed spirits. This young man looks to be about the same age as Fushiguro, but he is already so strong. Close black lens bracket. Gojo Satoru can sense that Lu Ming's potential has not been fully developed, although Lu Ming has a higher degree of control in the use of guarding the cursed spirit. However, when it comes to the use of magic power and some combat skills, Lu Ming looks more like a novice. Without the coordinated protection of this special guardian cursed spirit, Lu Ming would not have been able to fight Ryomen Sukuna for so long. However, being able to take the initiative to fight Sukuna means you have chosen the side of justice. Gojo Satoru stretched out, ready to take action to resolve the battle, but the next second, Fushiguro Megumi's words stopped him. Teacher Gojo, the fundamental reason why Sukuna was released was also because of Lu Ming. Lu Ming forced Itadori to eat Sukuna's finger. In Lu Ming's words, he wanted to use Sukuna to test his strength. He still cannot accept this reason, and Gojo Satoru never thought that there was such an inside story hidden in this battle. For the first time, he wondered if he had made a mistake in buying desserts. Why should he miss such an interesting thing? But then, he reacted again. Advertisement. If he had been here before, how could he ignore Lu Ming's move to force ordinary people to swallow Sukuna's fingers? Gojo Satoru became even more interested in Lu Ming. In particular, the king and mount theory that Lu Ming just mentioned was even more refreshing to him. In Lu Ming's opinion, does this high school student who has become Sukuna's container really have the ability to compete with Sukuna and decide who is the king and who is the mount? Gojo Satoru shook his finger, his heart filled with anticipation for the growth of Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji. He is looking forward to who among Itadori Yuji and Ryomen Sukuna will grow up to be the king, and who will become the mount. He was looking forward to what Lu Ming, the proposer of the king and mount theory, would look like in the future. Will it ignite a little passion in myself who is already bored with this world? Gia, I seem to have seen another you. Gojo Satoru said this in a voice that only he could hear. Although he had never had contact with Lu Ming before, he did have a feeling that this strange young man seemed to be qualified to reach the same height as himself in the future. Wei, leave the rest to me. Seeing Ryomen Sukuna disappear, the battle is about to end, and Gojo Satoru prepares to appear. Fushiguro Megumi nodded, but then thought of the Jujutsu law, and quickly stopped Gojo Satoru, and whispered that Itadori Yuji was able to suppress Ryomen Sukuna. Gojo-sensei, even if Itadori is raped by Sukuna, I don't want him to die. Even though the Jujutsu law has relevant provisions. Oh? Gojo Satoru smiled playfully. Is this an affair? Advertisement. Fushiguro Megumi's mind flashes to Itadori Yuji's efforts to save Sasaki and Iguchi, making the decision to swallow Sukuna's finger in order to help himself. All this shows that Itadori Yuji is a kind person. Such a kind person should not be sentenced to death because of Lu Ming's forced behavior. In Fushiguro Megumi's view, if he were to be sentenced to death, Lu Ming, who forced Itadori to eat Sukuna's finger, seemed more worthy. Teacher, it's just a personal relationship, please think of a way. Fushiguro Megumi's response was firm. Gojo Satoru laughed, not feeling embarrassed at all. Moreover, he directly chose to violate the Jujutsu law without any principles and chose to agree. After all, it's a lovely student's request, so leave it to me. Gojo Satoru replied in the affirmative, then turned to ask Lu Ming. What about this young man named Lu Ming? What do my lovely students think? It seems that you have a lot of resentment towards this Lu Ming. A look of hesitation appeared on Fushiguro Megumi's face. He was indeed very dissatisfied with Lu Ming's behavior of letting Itadori swallow his finger for his own selfish desires, but Lu Ming's actions to save himself and Itadori before were real. Moreover, the theory of kings and mounts mentioned by Lu Ming just now seems to be guiding Itadori Yuji to complete a breakthrough. All of this is too weird and prevents him from making a decision. Teacher Gojo, Lu Ming is too egotistical, but if he is trained by you, he may also be able to become a powerful Jujutsu master. Teacher, you decide for yourself. Fushiguro Megumi's answer was impartial. He felt that he had done his best to Lu Ming by not saying anything bad about Lu Ming. This mission was obviously going to be a complete success, but now that Lu Ming had stirred up such muddy waters, Fushiguro was feeling dissatisfied. Okay. Let me think about it, but this brat looks like he might be able to become a special Jujutsu master like Yūta. Advertisement. Yuji, are you back? Lu Ming said hello to Itadori Yuji, who was a little confused. He didn't look like a villain at all. Then, Itadori Yuji's sharp black and sharp nails disappeared, the black lines and clones extending on his head and cheeks also disappeared, and the other two pairs of eyes on both sides of his face were completely closed. The upright and kind-hearted Itadori Yuji returns. Oh, Lu Ming. It seems like you won? The moment Itadori Yuji woke up, a hint of complexity flashed in his eyes. Before, when Sukuna was controlling his body, he could not observe the outside world, but for some reason, the words Lu Ming said were able to be transmitted into his mind. Theories about kings, mounts, and instincts. The theory of kings and mounts inspired his original competitive spirit, allowing him who could only sleep when Sukuna occupied his body to see clearly everything Sukuna did with himself. It also allowed him to absorb Sukuna's combat experience in the previous battle. Itadori Yuji can feel his own growth, and the root of all this is Lu Ming. He didn't know whether he should thank Lu Ming or blame Lu Ming. It's okay, Sukuna is pretty strong too. He shook his head in boredom. This feeling that the battle had come to an abrupt end really made him a little unhappy. However, the only thing that made him feel a little lucky was that Itadori Yuji seemed to have listened to the theory of kings and mounts he proposed. In this way, it is not in vain to waste so much saliva. Chapter 16. Lu Ming, you are also going to be sentenced to death. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Yo, hello. With white hair and an eye patch, Gojo Satoru, the strongest Jujutsu master in modern times, appears between Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji. Tisk, 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 both of them seem to be monsters? One has such a powerful guardian cursed spirit, and one can freely control the body. Even Sukuna can't break through. Gojo Satoru circled Itadori Yuji. Can you really control Sukuna? Itadori Yuji scratched the back of his head. He didn't know who the white-haired young man who suddenly appeared was, but seeing that he had the same white hair as Lu Ming and wore an eye patch, he subconsciously felt that he and Lu Ming were the same. Teacher. But when he heard the name Fushiguro Megumi, he realized that he was wrong. Are you Fushiguro's teacher? This body is still under my control, although this one named Sukuna has always been very noisy. Gojo Satoru nodded thoughtfully, then turned to look at Lu Ming. Brother, your name is Lu Ming, right? Your previous behavior of letting Itadori swallow Sukuna's finger violated the Jujutsu law. I can determine that you have become a curse user. Gojo Satoru looked at Lu Ming playfully. The white-haired young man in front of him was still wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night. This scene reminded him of his past self. Are you imitating yourself? Advertisement. Gojo Satoru is the strongest Jujutsu master in modern times. With his powerful strength and handsome appearance, he has many fans in the entire Jujutsu world. In the past, many people would imitate his dress and appearance. To use the more fashionable term at the moment, it seems to be called cosplay. However, since I became a teacher in a high school, fewer people imitated me. Unexpectedly, another one appeared in front of him. To Gojo Satoru, Lu Ming's white hair and sunglasses seemed to be imitating his younger self. Looking at this scene, coupled with Fushiguro Megumi's previous proposal, he was still very interested in Lu Ming, the special Jujutsu master Miaozi. However, before that, he also had to understand Lu Ming's true purpose. Hiss, the moment Gojo Satoru appeared, Lizzy subconsciously made a protective move towards Lu Ming. She looked even more nervous than when she faced Sukuna. Mingjun, this person is very strong. Close black lens bracket. Hearing the meaning conveyed in Lizzy's voice, Lu Ming nodded, touched Lizzy's face and softly comforted. Don't worry, Riko. This is Mr. Gojo Satoru, the strongest Jujutsu master in the world and the only one in the world. No matter how vigilant we are, it's useless. Relax, relax. Lu Ming's voice made Lizzy slowly calm down. At the same time, he turned his head and looked at Gojo Satoru. The boredom caused by Sukuna stopping fighting disappeared in this moment. How could Ryomen Sukuna with one finger compare to the strongest Jujutsu master? If you can see the power of Gojo Satoru, will you be able to understand the use of 6 eyes? Have you learned the unlimited technique? Close black lens bracket? Advertisement. Such a thought emerged in Lu Ming's heart. After all, Fushiguro Megumi had already learned 2 types of shadow magic before. As long as it is demonstrated in front of him, he can master it. For a moment, he felt like the copy ninja Kakashi next door. Now, he wants to know, can he copy Gojo Satoru's technique? If the prerequisite for Gojo's unlimited technique is 6 eyes, then does the pair of 6 eyes in his eyes meet the conditions for using the unlimited technique? Gojo Satoru was born with 6 eyes, and he was a modified 6 eyes. Do the two have different effects on the use of unlimited techniques? Lu Ming's mind was full of questions, but it was obvious that the only one who could verify his inner guess was Gojo Satoru in front of him. After all, in this era, the only person who masters unlimited techniques is Gojo Satoru. Thinking of this, a bright smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. He is from the chaotic neutral camp, and he does many things just as he wants. In this case, he will live very freely. However, people in the chaotic neutral camp also have a characteristic, that is, they have a strong ability to make rudder according to the wind. In the past, his strength was able to crush Sukuna, Fushiguro and Itadori, so no matter how strong he appears, this is no exaggeration. However, in front of the strongest Jujutsu master Gojo Satoru, then, he has to give in. After all, the initiative lies in Gojo Satoru's hands. Although he felt that with the help of Lizzy, he should have a chance to escape from Gojo Satoru, but this was not what he wanted. There is no conflict of interest between him and Gojo Satoru anyway, right? Just in time to see what Gojo Satoru thinks. Advertisement. Facing Gojo Satoru's question, the smile on Lu Ming's face became brighter and brighter. Mr. Gojo Satoru, I'm just curious about the power of Sukuna's finger. However, considering that this finger is a special grade cursed object that needs to be recovered by the high school, I can't take it away. Simply let Itadori experience the power of Sukuna. Since Itadori was involved in this incident today, he will definitely not return to ordinary life. Furthermore, using his own body to withstand Sukuna's fingers to prevent Sukuna from killing more humans and preventing more humans from falling into incorrect deaths is probably what Itadori Yuji wants to see, right? Lu Ming's words made Itadori stunned, and he didn't know how to respond. Lu Ming's words made some sense, but there didn't seem to be much truth. Lu Ming was rambling here and there. Mr. Gojo Satoru, the law of Jujutsu is just a piece of paper. As the only being in the world, can these things trouble you? A trace of calm appeared on Lu Ming's face. What if I am judged as a curse user by you? Then, is Itadori Yuji considered a cursed spirit now? If that's the case, then just give me the same ending as Itadori Yuji. The moment he met Gojo Satoru, Lu Ming had already made his decision to join Jujutsu High School and become a member of the protagonist group. Only in this way can I have the opportunity to continue to master the 10 shadow spells. Only in this way can I learn unlimited spells. Moreover, the most important thing is that only through this can he possibly find Kensuo. After hearing Lu Ming's words, Gojo Satoru raised the corners of his mouth and pointed at Itadori Yuji beside him. Are you going to end up with the same fate as this brat? He became a container for a special grade cursed object because of you, but he will be sentenced to death. Gojo Satoru finished speaking. Itadori Yuji's face fell instantly, Fushiguro Megumi also looked nervous, and only Lu Ming curled his lips with a look of disbelief. Chapter 17 Analysis, The Power of Stopping, Previous Chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Come on, Mr. Gojo Satoru. Itadori Yuji is a rare genius. He can become a super jujutsu master in the future. His body is extremely strong. In the future, he may be able to compare with Zenin Jiji, the former tyrant of heaven and water, and he can also resist the erosion of Ryomen Sukuna. Are you sure you want him to die such a meaningless death? Furthermore, Sukuna has 19 other fingers. The other 19 fingers are equal to 19 special grade cursed spirits. Experts always have to collect these fingers, right? Itadori, who can freely control Sukuna, should be the most suitable for collecting fingers. Do you have the tools? Gojo Satoru stared at Lu Ming through his blindfold, feeling a little surprised in his heart. Zenin, I didn't expect anyone would propose this name, close black lens bracket. That image emerged in Gojo Satoru's mind, a man who almost killed himself, subverted Jade's ideals, and killed Riko Tenuchi. He would call Megumi's father Zenin Shiji instead of Fushiguro Shiji. I'm afraid this young man really has some kind of relationship with the Zenin family. Close black lens bracket. Also, it's really unusual to be able to guess your own thoughts. Close black lens bracket. Gojo Satoru didn't expect that Lu Ming could guess his thoughts. Indeed, when he agreed to Fushiguro Megumi's request, he had already thought about how to help Itadori Yuji perfunctory the top management, and the core was indeed Ryomen Sukuna's finger. But the young man in front of him named Lu Ming actually saw through his plan at a glance. In Gojo Satoru's heart, Lu Ming became a young man who not only possessed great strength, but also had a very sharp mind. Gojo Satoru nodded and said seriously, "So, are you going to join Jujutsu High School with Itadori Yuji, become my student, and accept my supervision?" Fushiguro Megumi and Itadori Yuji were instantly relieved when they heard this. Advertisement, especially Itadori, although he is not afraid of death, he does not want to be sentenced to death by others at will. Fushiguro Megumi is also very satisfied with this result. In his opinion, a person like Lu Ming who acts as randomly as he does needs the supervision of teacher Gojo. Lu Ming should thank Mr. Gojo for giving him this opportunity. After all, not everyone can become a student of the strongest jujutsu master. Moreover, if strictly investigated, Lu Ming's behavior of persecuting ordinary people is enough to warrant the death penalty. However, Lu Ming's next answer surprised both Itadori Fushiguro and Gojo Satoru. Mr. Gojo wants me to join Jujutsu High School, but is Jujutsu High School really qualified to teach me? None of the three people expected that Lu Ming would say such noble words. For a moment, Gojo Satoru himself doubted whether Lu Ming's previous description of him was just to flatter himself. Could it be that my own ability is not enough to teach him? Next, Lu Mingtu met Chongdagger. Mr. Gojo Satoru, everyone in the world says that you are the strongest jujutsu master, and because of your birth in this world, the strength of curse has also increased. It can be said that because of your birth, the whole world has changed. Curse users are hiding under your light and dare not show up at will. However, I really want to know if you are that strong. I want to know if you are really, I am the only one in heaven and under heaven. Lu Ming's voice fell, and the surroundings fell into dead silence. Itadori Yuji didn't understand Gojo Satoru's strength, so he was able to maintain a stable attitude of eating melons. Next to him, Fushiguro Megumi's jaw almost dropped in shock. Advertisement. Is Lu Ming crazy? Do you want to challenge Mr. Gojo? Did he think that defeating Ryomen Sukuna with one finger was enough to compete with Mr. Gojo? Close black lens bracket. The title of the strongest jujutsu master in the world is not self-proclaimed. Fushiguro Megumi felt that ever since Lu Ming appeared, his heart had been hitting the bottom line of shock. Tonight, he had encountered countless accidents from Lu Ming. Shadow magic. Guard the cursed spirit, erratic stance. These are nothing. Now, Lu Ming actually wants to challenge teacher Gojo. Is he really unable to think about it? Compared with Fushiguro Megumi's disbelief, Gojo Satoru's surprise flashed across his heart, and suddenly he looked very happy. He previously thought that Lu Ming had the potential to become a special jujutsu master in the future, but now it seems that Lu Ming's courage can be compared with that of a special jujutsu master. That's great. You and your cursed spirit are indeed enough for me to warm up. But, kid, if you only rely on your cursed spirit, isn't it enough? Gojo Satoru stretched and handed the snack in his hand to Fushiguro Megumi. Megumi, put it away. These are the desserts we will eat on the way back in the car. After explaining this, Gojo Satoru looked at Lu Ming again. Kid, a character like yours will suffer in the future, unless you can really become the strongest. Come on, let me tell you whether I am qualified to teach you. Advertisement. The battle between Lu Ming and Gojo Satoru ended even faster. The special grade cursed spirit Lizzy is very strong, and the 9 cursed fetus in her body also gives Lizzy enough support. Lu Ming and Lizzy's harmonious frequencies are also consistent enough. However, all this seems to be nothing but clouds in front of Gojo Satoru. With the power Lu Ming currently possesses, relying solely on Lizi is simply not enough to touch Gojo Satoru. Under the influence of the unlimited spell, Stop Power, every attack by Lu Ming was a miss. Even if he summoned Jade Dog and knew, he could not have any impact on Gojo Satoru. It's a strange feeling. Whenever he gets close to Gojo Satoru, an inexplicable pressure will appear, hindering Lu Ming's attack. He is obviously close, but he can't reach him at all. 5 minutes later, Lu Ming shrugged and released the harmony with Lizi. At the same time, he freed the Shikigami U-Dog and knew. The unlimited technique is indeed the ancestral technique of the Gojo family. It can interfere with materials at the courtyard level and control space. However, such precise manipulation of magic power can only be used by 6 eyes holders like Gojo Satoru. I wonder if a 6 eyes like me can reach such heights? Gojo Satoru-san is really the strongest. This kind of battle is really disappointing. Lu Ming's speed of surrender surprised even Gojo Satoru. In his opinion, Lu Ming had not yet used his full strength. Lu Ming did not use the Hun Dog ability that Fushiguro Megumi mentioned before. So, what is the kid in front of me thinking? People's hearts are too complicated. Gojo Satoru, who didn't know Lu Ming's golden fingers, didn't realize that Lu Ming just wanted to experience Gojo Satoru's unlimited techniques. After seeing Jujutsu, the power of stopping, he naturally no longer had to worry about it. After all, his 6 eyes had already analyzed the principle of the power of stopping. Chapter 18 Become the Strongest, previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. At this moment, Lu Ming has initially mastered this neutral, unlimited Jujutsu. However, Gojo Satoru's Jujutsu skills are far beyond those of Fushiguro Megumi. Even if he has analyzed Stop Power, now, he will have to spend time practicing it later. He cannot learn it just by looking at it like he can imitate Fushiguro Megumi. Now that his goal has been achieved, why should he provoke Gojo Satoru again? Once you get the stuff, just admit it. Teacher Gojo, from now on, you will be my teacher. No one else in this world is qualified to be my teacher except you. Gojo-sensei is indeed the strongest. Teacher Gojo is truly worthy of being the only one in the world who has the highest authority in the world. Lu Ming was slapped in a series of flattery, and this contrast directly made Fushiguro Megumi and Itadori Yuji refresh their views on Lu Ming. Lu Ming has no bottom line, right? Does he still have any self-esteem as a strong man? Close black lens bracket. Such thoughts came to Fushiguro Megumi and Itadori Yuji's minds at the same time. Although Lu Ming suddenly surrendered, Gojo Satoru was not the kind of person to argue with young people. In the attack just now, he had already seen Lu Ming's potential. This fighting method of manipulating the special guardian cursed spirit to attack in unison is a skill that even Okkotsu Yūta has not mastered. Although he still lacks combat experience and has some shortcomings in close combat skills, with proper training, he may be promoted faster than Okkotsu Yūta. However, he would not be fooled by Lu Ming's flattery. Kid, I don't have to pretend in front of me. Tell me, what is your purpose of joining Jujutsu High School? Actually, even if I don't agree with you, you should take the initiative to apply to join the junior high school, right? Gojo Satoru's face was full of confidence. He had seen through Lu Ming's plan. Advertisement. However, Lu Ming already knew in his heart that compared to Gojo Satoru's terrifying insight, his own little thoughts were indeed not worth mentioning. Teacher Gojo, my purpose is to get rid of evil spirits and protect all mankind. Lu Ming smiled and said a purpose that he didn't even believe. Thinking of Lu Ming's previous actions of suppressing him, and of Lu Ming's behavior of forcing Itadori Yuji to swallow Sukuna's finger, Fushiguro Megumi immediately showed disgust. He didn't know how Lu Ming could say this without changing his face. However, Itadori Yuji's eyes lit up when he heard Lu Ming's words. This purpose of justice is very consistent with my own ideas. Feeling the resonance of Itadori Yuji, Lu Ming subconsciously complained in his heart. As expected of the protagonist of the story, such a great and upright and hypocritical reason can resonate with Yuji at will. Fushiguro, Itadori, let's go. There is not a word of truth in this brat's mouth. Gojo Satoru didn't like Lu Ming either, so he turned around and greeted Fushiguro Megumi and Itadori Yuji. Seeing this scene, Lu Ming's expression instantly collapsed. Although he knew that Gojo Satoru was playing hard to get, he still gave up. Wait, Mr. Gojo. I was just joking. My goal is to become stronger and no longer let others control my life. In this process of becoming stronger, I don't mind seeing many special grade cursed spirits. Or, the process of eliminating cursed spirits is also a way for me to become stronger. This is not something Lu Ming made up. When Lizzy killed the special grade cursed spirit just now, he had an illusion that the power of the special grade cursed spirit seemed to be absorbed by the 9 cursed bodies in his body. He had doubts before. However, after fighting Sukuna and Gojo Satoru, he realized that the 9 cursed fetuses had indeed absorbed the power of the special cursed spirit. Although the changes are not obvious, they have indeed become stronger. Advertisement: this means that killing the special cursed spirit can also make you stronger. Joining Jujutsu High School to gain more access to information is the best choice for him at the moment. Besides, I also want to see if my Lizzy is the strongest special grade cursed spirit in the world. Lu Ming's eyes stayed on Itadori Yuji. I want to see it. The true strength of King of Curses Ryomen Sukuna 8,000 years ago. Gojo Satoru's tall figure suddenly stopped. Lu Ming's reasons were not sufficient, and there were many hidden things in his words. However, he felt Lu Ming's desire to become stronger. He thought of his former companion. We are the strongest, close black lens bracket. Gojo Satoru broke away from his memories in an instant and turned to Lu Ming with a toothy smile. Very nice. I also want to see how strong you can become. I agreed. Inside the high school, they were listening to Fushiguro Megumi's detailed report and Gojo Satoru's evaluation of Lu Ming. Yaga Masamichi, principal of Tokyo Prefectural Jujutsu High School, was filled with surprise. This middle-aged man with sunglasses, short hair, and a mustache, who looked like a member of the Neon Yakuza organization, never thought that Fushiguro Megumi's mission would be so ups and downs. The Lu Ming Jun you brought here actually knows shadow magic? He has the same magic technique as Fushiguro Megumi-san? Advertisement: are you sure this person's name is Lu Ming and not Zenin? This surname is obviously a Chinese surname from the other side of the river? Yaga Masamichi frowned. The ancestral techniques of the Zenin family should not be leaked to China no matter what. Obviously, this young man named Lu Ming should have the blood of the Zenin family. It's not just that. Gojo Satoru smiled and said to Yaga Masamichi. Lu Mingjun also has the same technique as Okkotsu Yūta, cursed spirit guard. He is followed by the same cursed spirit as Uraraka. Ieri Shoko held a cigarette in his mouth and looked helpless. You don't need to tell me this. We have already felt it. Such a powerful special grade cursed spirit appeared outside the high school. The principal almost thought there was something wrong with the barrier. Shoko complained, a hint of curiosity also rising in his eyes. So, what Fushiguro-san just said about Lu Ming-kun's bad character is true or not? Did he really force the special grade cursed object to eat by Itadori-san in order to see Sukuna's strength? Ieri Shoko is a little skeptical about this somewhat dramatic plot. No matter from which point of view, this kind of thing is a bit unreasonable. Yes. Indeed, but then he beat Sukuna back. Gojo Satoru's affirmative answer made Shoko and Yaga Masamichi fall into silence at the same time. Among the entire Jujutsu High School, except for Gojo Satoru and Okkotsu Yūta, who is currently on a mission abroad. Not one of them here could be 100% sure of defeating Ryomen Sukuna alone. Even though Ryomen Sukuna currently only has the power of one finger. If enough preparation time is given, Yaga Masamichi may be able to complete the achievement of single-finger Sukuna with many curse bones, but it may be very dangerous for other students or teachers. Thinking of this, Yaga Masamichi thought of another problem student who was expelled from school. Chapter 19 Shoko. I object to recruiting Lu Ming. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. So, Satoru, are you planning to recruit Lu Mingjun, who is obviously a problem student, into Jujutsu High School? Ieri Shoko somewhat disagrees with this matter. After all, according to Fushiguro Megumi's report, Lu Ming is obviously a time bomb. Will such a casual person really change because of the teachings of Jujutsu High School? Moreover, in many cases, what colleges and universities do is not the job of teaching and educating people, but more of giving students the task of exercising the cursed spirit. Will Lu Ming change because of his life at Jujutsu High School? Ieri Shoko has little confidence. For some reason, after hearing Lu Ming's deeds, what she thought of was not Okkotsu Yūta, but Yuji, her and Satoru's former best friend, who was once tied with Satoru as the strongest. With such a perverse personality, she always felt that Lu Mingjun would follow Jia's path. Moreover, it is obvious that Lu Ming's behavior is more casual than Yuji's. Seemingly reading Shoko's inner thoughts, Gojo Satoru came to Shoko's side. Thinking of Jade, Shoko was startled and looked sideways at Gojo Satoru. Obviously, when Gojo Satoru said this, it meant that he had the same idea as him. The future of the Jujutsu world needs to be changed by these fires, so I chose a different path from Jade. Now, since I have met Lu Ming, I have to bring him to the right path, right? If he is left to his own devices, his casual personality will make him more likely to become a hero. Gojo Satoru shrugged and grinned at Shoko. Don't worry, Shoko, I'm the strongest in the world. Advertisement. Shoko shook her head helplessly. She also knew that Gojo Satoru had made a decision and others could hardly change anything. Satoru, then you have to teach your students well. Teacher, you have to teach and educate people. Ieri Shoko stopped talking to Gojo Satoru and began to treat Fushiguro Megumi's hidden wounds from this mission. Encountering 3 special-level cursed spirits in a row, Fushiguro Megumi-san behaved very maturely, which must have cast a huge shadow on him. While Shoko was treating Fushiguro Megumi, Yaga Masamichi waved to Gojo Satoru and went outside with him. Should we talk to the Zenin family about Lu Ming's shadow-revealing spell? You intercepted way before, and now you have brought back Lu Ming. If the Zenin family knew about this, they probably wouldn't let it go. Yaga Masamichi looked worried. Oh, what's there to be angry about in the Zenin family? Lu Ming's surname is not Zenin. Just like Fushiguro, the Zenin family doesn't have any qualifications, right? As soon as Gojo Satoru finished speaking, he felt Yaga Masamichi's sharp gaze and quickly raised his hands in surrender. Hey, I understand, I will convey this to the Zenin family. After saying that, Gojo Satoru muttered again. Both of the 2 shadow-revealing people are not named Zenin. Shouldn't the Zenin family look for problems within themselves? Satoru. You. After hearing this, Yaga Masamichi was about to criticize, but Gojo Satoru disappeared from his side. Principal, I will bring Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji to enroll tomorrow, so be prepared. Gojo Satoru's figure disappeared, but his voice remained. This boy. Advertisement. Yaga Masamichi laughed and cursed, and finally shook his head. Zenin's family did not give birth to a single shadow spell. Instead, the leftover bloodlines appeared one after another. Close black lens bracket. I really don't know whether I should feel happy or sad for the Zenin family. Close black lens bracket. Yaga Masamichi took off his sunglasses and wiped them gently. However, I heard that Lu Ming also likes to wear sunglasses. Yes, he has great taste. He looks very suitable for Jujutsu High School. Itadori Yuji woke up from his sleep and realized that he had arrived in Tokyo from Sendai. Human beings came overnight, and their consciousness disappeared overnight. Where is this? Looking at the dim light around him and the talisman paper plastered on the wall, Itadori Yuji could confirm that this was not the hotel where he and Lu Ming stayed last night. Hey, Yuji, are you awake? Hearing this voice, he realized that Lu Ming was also beside him. Itadori Yuji, you are sentenced to death, because you swallowed Sukuna's finger. Hearing Lu Ming say such words, Itadori Yuji's expression froze. Why could the young man in sunglasses in front of him say this so confidently? Doesn't he know why he swallowed Sukuna's finger? Don't be afraid, Itadori, it's not the death penalty, it's a reprieve. At the same time Gojo Satoru's voice came. Itadori Yuji, suspended death? Advertisement. Gojo Satoru. Yes, the death penalty is suspended. Itadori Yuji, you don't mean it won't start immediately? Lu Ming. Yes, literally. Gojo Satoru was sitting on a chair, his chin resting on the back of the chair, his whole posture seemed very relaxed. There was no atmosphere of announcing a penalty at all, except for his tied hands. What made Itadori Yuji feel dissatisfied was that Lu Ming, who was obviously guilty of the same crime as him, was sitting on the chair as leisurely as Gojo Satoru, and kept interjecting on the side, making it seem that he, like Gojo Satoru, was also a judge, generally. If it's a suspended death sentence, it means I still have some time before my execution, right? What do I need to do during this period? Itadori Yuji believes in Fushiguro Megumi, and he will naturally believe in Fushiguro Megumi's teacher Gojo Satoru. Moreover, Gojo Satoru's power is obvious to all. Even Lu Ming, who crushed them, could not even touch Gojo Satoru. If Gojo Satoru sentenced him to death, then he really had no idea of resistance. Seeing that Itadori Yuji was so aware of current affairs, Gojo Satoru took out another Ryomen Sukuna's finger. Yuji, you have experienced the power of Ryomen Sukuna last night. However, that is only the power of one finger. This finger is the same as the one you ate yesterday. We have kept 6 fingers in total. Itadori Yuji looked at this dark red finger and narrowed his eyes slightly. Does every finger have such power? I ate 1, and you custodians have 6, which means there are 13 Sukuna fingers elsewhere? This Sukuna is too strong. Itadori Yuji made a simple calculation, and his eyes widened instantly. With 20 times the power, it was hard for him to imagine how powerful Ryomen Sukuna was in his true state. Can Gojo Satoru and Lu Ming in front of them really defeat Ryomen Sukuna, who has the power of 20 fingers at his peak? Hey, I didn't expect that. Yuji, you know Ryomen Sukuna so well? You actually knew that Sukuna has 20 fingers? Did the guy in your body tell you? Gojo Satoru's expression was a little curious, and his eyes were constantly looking at Itadori Yuji through the eye patch. Chapter 20. Huzzy, you want Sukuna to become a mount. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Whether it was after learning of his suspended death or facing the current situation, Itadori seemed a little too calm. Itadori Yuji shook his head when he heard this and glanced at Lu Ming on the side. Lu Ming told me about the 20 fingers. Gojo Satoru nodded thoughtfully. Although it is not a secret in the Jujutsu world that Sukuna's fingers are special grade cursed objects, there have always been different opinions in the Jujutsu world about the number of Sukuna's fingers. Jujutsu masters who really know the number of Sukuna fingers are usually related to the 3 major families or Jujutsu colleges. So, what do I need to do during my probation? Itadori Yuji asked again. He had probably guessed the purpose of Gojo Satoru's mention of the 20 Sukuna fingers. Gojo Satoru likes to talk to smart people, so he explained simply. Things like Sukuna's fingers cannot be destroyed. It is a very powerful curse, and it keeps getting stronger. Modern Jujutsu masters can no longer keep up with the speed of sealing. So, you who can control Sukuna are the best solution. Your appearance means that Sukuna has a weakness. As long as you, the container, die, the Ryomen Sukuna in your body will also die. Because of this, some timid old men in the Jujutsu Masters Association are clamoring to kill you. The corners of Gojo Satoru's mouth raised slightly. But it's wasteful. Itadori Yuji nodded. It's indeed a waste. I heard from Mr. Gojo that since Ryomen Sukuna's fingers are difficult to seal, and the higher-ups seem to be very surprised that I can control my body, it means that my existence is special. Advertisement. In this case, I should still be able to play some role, such as eating all of Sukuna's fingers and then being sentenced to death. It's all death anyway. Why don't you wait until I absorb Ryomen Sukuna's 20 fingers and take him to death with me? This can be regarded as once and for all, and I have contributed to society. Itadori Yuji's answer made Gojo Satoru silent for a while. This is indeed what the top management of the association thinks, and it is exactly what I proposed to the top management. Facing Gojo Satoru's silence, Itadori Yuji looked a little sad. He has always been a person with strong empathy, he cares deeply about his companions and friends, and he is always kind to everyone he meets. Not only because of his grandfather's curse to him before he died, but actually he himself had an extraordinary sense of sacrifice and fearlessness. If he hadn't heard Lu Ming's words yesterday, Itadori felt that he might not have thought so much. However, after learning about the influence of King Lu Ming and the Mount Theory yesterday, Itadori Yuji was able to understand his own heart more clearly. Itadori can accept the result of sacrificing himself in this way. What happened last night is not an exception. Curse killings happen all around Neon. Although he didn't like the fact that Lu Ming fed him his fingers last night, he was still very grateful to Lu Ming. If Lu Ming hadn't appeared, Reiken's seniors, Fushiguro Megumi and himself would probably have been injured or even died. Itadori Yuji glanced at the leisurely Lu Ming. He had a feeling that when Lu Ming fed him a finger, he knew that he could control Sukuna. No matter what Lu Ming's purpose was, Itadori Yuji discovered something that only he could do in the whole world. Advertisement. If Ryomen Sukuna disappears, there will be fewer people killed by curses, right? I remember Lu Ming said that Ryomen Sukuna is the king of curses. Itadori Yuji's question surprised Gojo Satoru. He had originally thought about saying something to convince Itadori Yuji, but all his preparations seemed to be in vain. The speed at which Itadori accepted the matter was completely beyond his expectation. Itadori Yuji himself had already guessed the whole story without even saying anything. Yes. Yuji, if Sukuna, the king of curses, disappears, the whole world will have fewer conflicts. Before Gojo Satoru spoke, Lu Ming answered with a smile. Itadori Yuji didn't believe Lu Ming's words and just stared at Gojo Satoru. He didn't let out a long breath until Gojo Satoru nodded affirmatively. Okay, I'll do that while I'm on probation, I'll eat that finger. Itadori Yuji took the finger, and an expression befitting his age finally appeared on his young face. He was force-fed by Lu Ming before, so he didn't have time to observe it carefully. Now looking at this dried finger, he really couldn't eat it. Thinking that he would die after eating these 20 fingers, Itadori Yuji felt a little depressed. Think of these Sukuna fingers as your last supper. Just when Itadori Yuji was preparing to eat the second Sukuna finger with the idea of devouring the world by swallowing one, Lu Ming's voice suddenly came. Advertisement. Yuji, this mentality is unacceptable. You just have too weak a purpose and don't have a strong sense of goal. Lu Ming suddenly stood up from the chair, walked to Itadori Yuji, grabbed Ryomen Sukuna's finger, and shook it in front of him. This scene was seen by Gojo Satoru, but he did not take any action. Instead, he looked at Lu Ming with interest, wanting to know what he was going to do next. Yuji, you are unique in this world. You can be Sukuna's container, so you can't have the idea of dying with Sukuna. You can see Lizzy, can't you? The bone-white cursed spirit glass appeared behind Lu Ming. Itadori Yuji nodded. He didn't know what Lu Ming was going to do. Riko can be my cursed spirit. She will always protect me and stay by my side. So, as Sukuna's container, why can't you let Sukuna become your cursed spirit? He can't control your body. As long as you are strong enough, Sukuna can only be imprisoned in your body. When you learn to control Sukuna's power, then he will just become your power bank in the future. Why do you want to die with Sukuna so much? Master Gojo Satoru is the only one in the world and the strongest in the world, so no one can order him. When you take control of Ryomen Sukuna, you become the strongest in the world. Will you care whether it's those curse or the rotten jujutsu masters who want to kill you? Let Sukuna be the mount and you become the king? Only in this way can you save more people?